He's open with this one every time now.
I guess.
Just I can't. I mean,
Oh, I would love to hear what he's saying.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
I don't know. I'm just like everything's going wrong. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I might go back to me.
107.5.
And we're up and at 'em on a Tuesday morning, April the 12th, 6:03 a.m. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. We have got another full day ahead of us as we count down until the spring game this coming Saturday night, 7 o'clock at Williams-Brice Stadium. We will get into that a lot more today. We've not spent, Patrick, and I've said this a couple times over the last maybe 7, 8 business days that we've been here. We have not spent a great deal of time on the spring game, but we'll spend a little bit more time on that as we get kind of a break in action. Last night, no baseball or no South Carolina baseball. They'll be back to the field tonight, 7 o'clock against North Florida over at Founders Park. That will be the game taking place tonight. You can catch it on the SEC Network Plus, or you can catch it right here on 107.5 The Game. We go 1 week now, no college basketball as well. We've moved on from that, and we kind of await more news for both South Carolina as it pertains to the third assistant spot and also from the transfer portal position. South Carolina's roster is still – we didn't mention this, by the way, yesterday. We did on Friday.
We kind of jokingly made the comment that by the end of the day, it could have been news that we probably should have addressed more. But Keyshawn Bryant officially entering the NBA draft last Friday. We had kind of cut up about that. So South Carolina's roster right now, there's not a whole lot of basketball players on there. And you're also not really – now maybe it's just quiet. Maybe things are just kind of – this is how Lamont Paris will operate. Obviously, he's not had many assistant coaches or any assistant coaches really working for him the last 10 days, given that Eddie Shannon and Tanner Bronson were just hired on Friday. But you're not even really seeing a whole bunch of names pop up on South Carolina's recruiting radar. Hayden Brown was mentioned and took an official visit over the weekend. But other than that, is it a little, I don't want to say scary, because they'll fill out a roster, right? Like, I mean, you're going to have a roster when it's all said and done. But, right now it's kind of interesting that you just haven't seen much from the transfer portal for South Carolina.
You're going to see UMass end up with more 2021 to 2022 Gamecocks than South Carolina. You saw they got another one last night.
Wildens
Levesque, yeah.
For everybody
Who's next?
For everybody who thought that Wildens Levesque and Frank Martin didn't have a great relationship.
What are people going to do if Devin Carter transfers to UMass?
Just going to move on. I mean, that's really
cry.
That's all you can kind of do at this point. South Carolina, to my knowledge, if I'm doing the numbers correctly on this, has just 5 scholarship players right now remaining on their roster. I've got Jacoby Wright, Chico Carter Jr., Trayvon Minott, Javon Benson, and Josh Gray is who I currently have as part of the 2022-2023 roster. Then you throw in the 2 commitments, Daniel Hankins Sanford and Zachary Davis from Denmark Alar, and that at least takes you to 7. So you do have a 5-man team and 2 subs right now. So good news, you can field a team.
Is Brandon Martin still technically on the team?
I think he is. He's on the roster. Of course, I also look Jermaine Cousinard.
Devin Carter's on the roster too.
Yeah. The weird one was if you look at the actual men's roster, Keyshawn Bryant's not on there, but Wildens Levesque, who just committed to UMass last night, is. So I'm not sure what to make of the roster, but you do have right now a 7-man roster. You're right, Brandon Martin. I guess we're pretty much under the assumption he's not coming back.
I don't know.
I think he does have the COVID year there that he could technically come back. But
if you, not anything against him, but he wasn't recruited to play in the SEC. If you got onto a team that was above your abilities, because of a relationship you had with the coach, and that coach left, would you be like, all right, well, sorry, Dad, I'm at a level that I never really thought I was going to play at. Smooth sailing up there in UMass. I'll support you, but I'm sticking around, man.
Maybe
Like, I don't.
just one
If
more.
you went to Wofford and then like somehow just got an offer to go be on scholarship at Alabama, and then your dad got fired from the Alabama staff, would you say, all right, that's cool, I'll just go back and play for Wofford again? I would continue my time at Alabama.
I am trying to glance and see again because of the COVID year. He's listed as a graduate student, but I'm not sure if Brandon Martin is actually considered, or if he had the extra year. Yeah, no, he's actually listed as a graduate student for next year, so he does have an extra year of eligibility. And you're right, he may just look around and be like, I'm here, got a spot, I'll stick to it, just finish out my graduate degree. So maybe you throw him in there for your 8th guy right now. I guess you need to throw him in there for it. But to go back, does it concern you, or is it just the fact of like, yeah, they'll get players, it just might not be, it might be another lower level caliber of player.
It's gonna be, yeah, I'm expecting a lower caliber of player. Like, maybe if anything, you'll have a chance to find out what Lamont Paris is like as a in-game coach, or can he make the most out of the talent, because it's going to be one of the least talented South Carolina teams in a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Like, you'll have a chance to build a better team in year 2, but this year is not going to be a good year. There's no realistic reason to expect it to be a talented roster.
Yeah, you never know. Things can again change and evolve with the transfer portal. I guess my point on it was more little surprised you haven't seen a few more names. You've seen a few names that have indeed popped up, but it's been a little bit less than I would have expected there early on, especially given that you thought that Lamont Paris said he was going to get out and hit recruiting very hard right away. And it's more of you look around, you go on Twitter and you see John Rothstein, and we had Travis Branham on from 24/7 Sports last week, who's doing the basketball analysis, and he's just reporting on these kids that are in the transfer portal, and you don't even really see a whole bunch of them just mentioning South Carolina at this point in time. So we'll continue to see where everything goes with that. But we didn't mention that you closed the book on Keyshawn Bryant's career. How does Keyshawn Bryant get remembered at South Carolina?
Talented.
But never lived up to the potential,
Yeah,
overplayed his potential, was just kind of
just gonna be one of those guys that had a lot of physical ability and was a decent player and made some highlight reel plays, but was never a giant factor. Was never a go-to guy or anything like that. But I don't think you'll remember him as like a bust or anything like that. I mean, he is going to play some level of professional basketball. He was a solid player, but he was never a star.
So it's interesting because he burst onto the scene in his first collegiate game with a 20-plus point game. Was not a highly thought of recruit when he came to South Carolina, but came out of nowhere to have a monster game then, and now his career has wrapped up. Always seemed to be right on the verge of turning into a very solid player, but an injury here or something there, inconsistency. Maybe I asked that because I wonder if he is the kind of the definition of the Frank Martin era. Always a good player, just not able to get over the hump, as you just said, and become like the go-to guy. You'd have the highlight reel dunks, and then you'd also have it was the Mississippi State game in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Where he goes to dunk it that would have cut it to, I think, 1. Instead, he misses it, and Mississippi State goes on some kind of ridiculous 22-3 run, and South Carolina never recovers from it. It was always like 1 step forwards, 2 step backwards for him.
Yeah, just a classic guy that you thought every year you said, okay, can this be the year that everything clicks for him? And it never was. That's just who he is. He's just there's a lot of players like that, even in the NBA, just to a different degree. Guys that are really physically gifted, can jump out of the gym, but not great shooters, not great ball handlers, and just that's what they are. So I mean, he'll do well in whatever league he goes to overseas. He'll make some highlight reel plays. People will like him, and that'll just be what it is. Good kid. It seems like never. I mean, there was a suspension, but you never heard too much about him off the court. I don't think he leaves any sort of lasting legacy. It's just pretty good player.
803-404-6100. A little bit of basketball discussion there. If you want to weigh in this morning, you can do so via the text line or via the Love Chevy phone line. You can also join along on the Buford Lending live stream this morning. Nick, Kirby, Anthony, Jerry, DC all up and at it with us this morning. Nick saying, wouldn't Martin have to sit out a year if he transfers again? No, he'd be a graduate student. He gets the graduate designation, which I guess is actually what Eric Stevenson, who is now just done the let's go all around the country and play at different stops in the country. He's hit the Midwest with Wichita State, the Northwest with Washington, got a little bit of the Southeast in there with South Carolina, and I guess I don't know if I'd say the Northeast, maybe
Appalachia.
Appalachia, okay,
Yeah.
with West Virginia. So, but that's the reason that Eric Stevenson, who is transferring, is able to play again right away despite the one-time transfer
I
rule.
hope that he can find a G League team in Albuquerque next year.
That's true. Yeah,
Finish it off.
or maybe just a semi-pro
Or
team.
go play in the Canadian
The,
League and experience the.
Jackie Moon,
Jackie
and
Moon
just
team.
find the
That was Flint.
yeah. So find
Could go
a
to Flint.
team there. 803-404-6100. Yeah, a little bit of discussion there. We'll get into that. Baseball again tonight, South Carolina and North Florida. 7 p.m. start time to that. And again, you can catch it right here on 107.5 The Game. You can also catch it on SEC Network Plus if you want to stream it.
SEC Network right now. I'd suggest everyone whose kids are on spring break just listen to us. Pop on the SEC Network. We just saw Jaheim Bell catch a 69-yard touchdown pass right up the seam. Duke's Mayo Bowl on replay.
I was going to say, you want to tell them what game it was, though?
If I say Jaheim Bell, 69-yard touchdown.
Oh, there were so
reception
many
up the
big-time
seam.
offensive plays this year that
I think they should know what I'm talking about.
we will see. Yeah, if you want to flip over, if you want to listen to us and flip over to the SEC Network, we are currently watching the replay of South Carolina, North Carolina this morning from the Duke's Mayo Bowl. So you can get up this morning, fix a little breakfast with that, and get going. We will talk a lot of football this morning and start to get your take here as we count down. It'll be free admission to South Carolina spring game, 7 o'clock on Saturday night. So you can go and you can check out the team. You can see Spencer Rattler. I'm assuming that's the guy everybody wants to see, Patrick, right? Like they want to see what this kid is all about. I don't know what we'll learn. What do you expect to learn about Spencer Rattler on Saturday night?
Is he? I mean, I guess he is just because it's the quarterback position and he's so talented. He's without a doubt the number one person that everyone wants to see because, in a way, we've all seen him before.
Right.
Like there are guys that we've never seen play before. We've never seen Juice Wells play. Most likely. I don't think many people were tuning in to James
if
Madison
you said
games.
you had seen him play, I would understand because you're the
Yeah.
king of film and you'll get in there and study. But I'm with you on that. Most people are not going back and watching James
So is
Madison's
there
film.
anyone that we haven't seen play that people are more excited about, might be more excited about than Spencer Rattler because of that?
They
Like
are
what we all know what Spencer Rattler looks like throwing the football now.
there are reports that Marshawn Lloyd has started to look a lot better
There
and
was a video over the weekend.
a lot more comfortable. And it has nothing to do with him breaking off. Actually, I should say what I'm interested to see from him has nothing to do with him breaking off a 40 or 50 or 60-yard run. I want to see how comfortable he looks when he gets the ball because he's shown flashes at times of being that running back that everybody talked about coming out of high school, but he's been inconsistent in doing it. And I guess my question is, like, every time he touches it, do you feel like a big play is possible? Or does he just still look inconsistent? That's going to be the one guy that I'm most interested to see. And I got to admit, behind him, it's going to be Christian Beal-Smith. I don't know what to make of Christian Beal-Smith coming in, but it sounds like it's Lloyd and Beal-Smith who have kind of established themselves 1-2 in the run game. And if they can just generate anything, it
the
also
Lightning
gives
and
you
the
a little
Thunder.
bit. It gives you a little bit of hope with the offensive line, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's good. It'll be good to have different styles of back. I've never really seen. I didn't watch too much of Wake last year. I haven't seen much of Christian Beal-Smith. Have you? Was he there? Was he the workhorse for them last year?
Yeah, I mean, he took over as the main guy, obviously, with Kenneth Tucker transferring to
Kenneth
Minnesota State.
Walker.
Kenneth Walker transferring to Michigan State and having the season that he did, and it became the Christian Beal-Smith show last year, and he was
It's
solid.
really the Sam Hartman show, but
Well, that's true. But in terms of running the football, yeah. But so I think that's what becomes kind of interesting for him moving forward is what role can he play? And I think you get a small chance. Again, very hesitant now at 30. Now this is where I'm becoming older and more cynical and maybe harder to impress, is because for a spring game, there are things I'm interested to see, and we'll get into that this morning. 803-404-6100. I want to hear some things that maybe you're interested to watch and see on Saturday night. Maybe it's just getting back to a night game at Williams-Brice Stadium and getting back to the ballpark and being able to tailgate a little bit. But Patrick, it's going to be hard for me to come in here on Saturday, regardless of what happens, if Spencer Rattler is awesome, and say, oh, yeah, I feel great about the offense. I'm going to be probably more the negative person. Be like, okay, that secondary is concerning.
Probably. Is there any standout, ridiculous Spring Bowl performance that stands out and then the player just didn't do anything in that season?
Oh, that's a great one. And let's ask that this morning. By the way, Christian Bill Smith last year, 131 carries, 604 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So solid. 803-404-6100. Give me your most ridiculous standout spring game performance.
That amounted to nothing.
That amounted. I've got one. I've got the easy one, and maybe they go in. They work together hand in hand. It would be.
I don't know if I recall one.
It would be for me 2002 spring game. Corey Jenkins is taken over for Phil Petty. We finally get to see Corey Jenkins. He was the incredible athlete from just down the road at Dreer. Goes on to plays professional baseball, comes back at 25, had been the backup to Phil Petty and had done some nice things, and it's finally going to be his turn. And this is on the heels of the Mike Vick era, right? So everybody's like, oh, we have our Mike Vick. We have got our Mike Vick. And Corey Jenkins was really good in the 2002 spring game, but it was the wide receiver, a junior college defensive back turned wide receiver, Taquay Muhammad, who had about 200, I think the actual number was 212 yards receiving that day in the spring game, and just lit the South Carolina secondary on fire.
Who was covering him?
Nobody.
Maybe that's more of
Lou Holtz was covering him. Lou Holtz was the one that was out there trying to cover
clearly
him.
no one could cover him 212 yards.
And people left, and Corey Jenkins was impressive, but everybody was like, oh, Taquay Muhammad is going to be the next superstar wide receiver for South Carolina. I don't know if people remember that spring game
before.
I'm interested to hear your spring game. DJ weighs in with Jarvis Giles. I'm not sure that Jarvis Giles actually had a great spring game, but he is certainly a legend for a lot of things, none of which were really good on the football field. 803-404.
There's going to be so many names that I've never heard mentioned for this.
I'm interested to see if there's some other ones that can top what I just gave. I'm interested to see if you can top the 2002. It's the ace of spades I've got for best spring games, because I know people who walked out and were like, go ahead, get the billboard ready for Corey Jenkins. Taquay Muhammad's going to lead him to a Heisman.
You want to spell that?
Taqiy Muhammad.
Look up his stats.
Yeah, let me tell you, he had more receptions and more yards in that spring game in 2002.
You don't know what he does now.
Then I have no clue.
He's the cornerbacks coach at Butler County Community
Really?
College.
How about that, kids? We're teaching you something this morning.
The Butler Grizzlies.
Did anybody know that?
I don't know who the Butler Grizzlies are.
They
have been national champions though.
Okay, so there you go. How about that?
El Dorado, Kansas.
That was junior college player, came in as a defensive back, ended up playing wide receiver, and would go on to I think have the best spring game I've ever seen of any South Carolina player, and then unfortunately did nothing.
8 catches for 77 yards in his career.
Okay, that day I think he had 12 for 212 and like 6 touchdowns. Nobody guarded him. 803-404-6100. If you've got a spring game performance that you remember that ended up going nowhere, we'd like to hear from you this morning. Let me ask you this. Marshall asks on our text line, how long do you think Spencer Rattler plays in the spring game? I mean, this is the neat thing they've got. You'll have Rattler and maybe Braden Davis, I'm guessing, as 2 quarterbacks on one team, and then you'll have Luke Doty and Colton Gauthier, as you would assume that's the other 2 quarterbacks. It'd be kind of 1 and 4, 2 and 3. And don't you think Rattler gets the vast majority of snaps in the first half?
First half, yeah, but then I don't know. It's arguable that the other guys need their reps more because they're battling it out for the backup spot. Yeah, that's more of a battle than anything else.
So, but I think he plays a good bit early on, to see what he can do. I mean, that's typically you get the actual game like scenario on the first half, and then the running clock in the second half.
What what was the breakdown for the Clemson game? I didn't see any of the Clemson spring game. Did DJ and Klubnik play half each, or do you know? Did you hear anything about that?
I know it was 15-7, but I didn't go back and read a whole lot as it pertained to their spring. I know it was windy up there on Saturday, and that basically it was tough really for the offense to get going as a whole. There was some injuries to wide receivers. I don't think you were able to take much away if you were a Clemson fan. I don't think you were able to take much away from that game. It was like mid 40s up there. The winds were pretty bad. I don't think there was a whole
Crowd was
lot.
pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think there was a whole lot going on for that game
I
that
saw
you
a tweet. Someone, I don't remember who it was, but they said a lot of Clemson fans dressed as bleachers.
it was not a fun day to be outside, I can promise you that. 803-404-6100. We'll get into a little baseball. We'll carry on with some football discussion this morning. If you've got a spring game performance that stands out, we will certainly get to that a little bit and continue to talk about the spring game. Also, we will get into more in depth on Patrick's NFL breakdown and how it pertains to not only just the Carolina Panthers, but the NFL as a whole. Yesterday, he gave his top 5 picks. His mock draft is ready. Today, we'll go through a little bit more of that. So plenty to get into. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's
And I want to talk to you about to our good friends at Canty Foundation Specialists. They have been proudly serving North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, including offices in Columbia, Greenville, Augusta, Charlotte, and Charleston. They are the foundation specialists, and they can fix your foundation problems. Maybe you've got cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in your walls or above windows and door frames, doors and or windows that might stick, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. All of those are signs of foundation problems that Canty can take care of. They will also help you fix your crawl space issues. If you have an open crawl space and recently experienced a storm, you may have standing water under your home. That can cause high humidity and condensation, which creates an environment for mold, mildew, and pests, including termites. Moisture can lead to wood rot and floor joist problems, and then musty smells or awful odors that can come from mold or mildew in your crawl space. That can cause health issues such as runny nose, itchy eyes, or coughs. 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from the crawl space, so you need to get that taken care of. They offer more than just foundation and crawl space repair, though. They can do concrete leveling, concrete repair, commercial services, or basement waterproofing. So give them a call, 803-424-8380. Again, that's Canty Foundation Specialists. You can call them at 803-424-8380 or visit on the web at cantycanfixit.com.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
The other day, apparently his celebrity net worth is somewhere between, I think it's around $15 million. One of them said 16.
16 million?
One of those. I mean, those are completely unreliable. They have no idea, but
That was actually an awful pass.
I looked it up because I saw his tweet that he said he would give $10,000 to Dance Marathon.
Oh. Oh, here we go. I was looking for a complete breakdown of not a complete breakdown, but my pop. What team is the Fever?
Indiana.
Indiana. Mm.
Did you see the Phillies guy yesterday?
What did he? I just saw it up there.
Yeah, he had 3 errors, and then after a routine play he made to first base, his own fans were ironically clapping for him.
He
He
said, "I hate it here."
I effing hate this place. And then they asked about it in the locker room, and he didn't even try to say that's not what he said. He was like, "Yeah, that's what I said. I'm sorry. I got emotional. The fans want to win. I appreciate it." Yankees fans walked into the building chanting F Trae Young yesterday.
Who? Oh, wait,
Yankees fans
What did he do?
just owns them, completely owns them.
Yankees?
Yeah. They just showed the highlight of him dropping 45 in his return to MSG. But like, he killed them.
Oh, you mean Knicks fans?
No, Yankees. At the Yankees game, they were chanting F Trae Young because he's just
Oh.
he completely owns the city of New York. And the Yankees weren't playing the Braves either. I don't know why they were doing it. They just can't stand him.
guess I can delete my Masters app now.
For a year, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, save some storage space for a year.
Yeah. Well, I think I got to get a new cell phone at some point here. Robin, I didn't get home till late. I was in a golf tournament, so I missed most of the draft. Ate and went to bed. Worn out. I think I'm on. .33 on a Tuesday morning, April the 12th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, up and at 'em this morning, unless the kids don't have school because of spring break. And maybe it's just you who is up and at 'em. We were asking the question in the last segment. What we were talking about is the upcoming spring game this coming Saturday night over at Williams-Brice Stadium. Jan asked us on the Buford Lending live stream if the lights, the new LED lights, would be in place for Saturday night. I'm 99% sure, unless I've just absolutely missed something, they will, excuse me, not be ready to go on Saturday night. They will more than likely be ready to go for the season opener when we get there. I believe it's just been a matter of getting them in. They will be installed. It's just a matter of getting them in and actually getting them installed. And I think they'll be doing that over the summer months. So to my knowledge, unless something has changed or they've kept it a massive secret, they will not have those LED lights in to blink on and off when Spencer Rattler throws massive touchdowns and Marshawn Lloyd breaks off massive runs and Jordan Birch rips off the opposing teams.
When
Hopefully
Jordan
not.
Birch throws a touchdown
That
pass.
Jordan Birch throws a touchdown. But
that would be a good gimmick play that we were talking about yesterday. What are we going to expect? And I said I think Zeb Nolan's going to come out there redoing the Birch play, the Birch Tennessee pass would kind of be a funny move.
Okay, all right, little left-handed pass there over the top. Let him sail it in.
I would kind of appreciate that.
Good, would you? Little sense of humor there.
A little, or it would either be a sense of humor or it would be looked at as stubbornness. Like he doesn't think he was wrong for calling that play. He's doing it again.
Let him go out and do it. Let him go out. I think this one maybe instead of running it that same way, you just line up Birch in the backfield and snap it to him and let him drop back and heave it downfield left-handed.
From not from the goal line.
No, not from the goal line. Yeah, 25 yards out.
Ball.
Just to send someone down on a seam pattern.
He's got a strong arm.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. We asked you we are asking you if you remember a particular spring game. Harry says he thinks the 1992 spring game. Asim Penny. I do remember an Asim Penny, I think he wore number 1 from Maryland. He says was really good that day, but turned out to be nothing on the field during the season. Thank goodness we had Steve Tannehill that year. Yeah, I think I'm with you, Harry. I think Asim Penny was number 1. I believe I had a number 1 jersey, a black number 1 jersey, but I think I'm with you all on that. 803-404.
So he was a transfer from the University of Maryland.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, because I see his card from Maryland.
Yeah, or maybe he transferred from South Carolina to Maryland. You'd have to do a little bit more research. We're only talking something that's 30 years old right now.
Did he also go to Kentucky?
No, that doesn't seem right. Keep looking. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. One thing we've talked about, South Carolina baseball tonight taking on Kentucky. They're not taking on Kentucky. Taking on North Florida tonight, 7 o'clock. You can hear that right here on 107.5 The Game. Gamecock Larry, who is not happy with anybody in the athletics department, just angry at the baseball coach, the athletics director, everybody. Yesterday, he offered to help pack Mark Kingston's bags. That tells you how angry he is. Let's see if he's calmed down at all this morning. Larry, how you doing?
Good morning, Bill. You kept me on hold, hoping I'd hang up, but you forgot. I spent 20 years in the military, and I'm used to waiting, used to being on standby. But let me tell you something. Let's put aside this football, basketball a little bit. Let's talk about this baseball team. I'm telling you. Now, I had to get my director of research yesterday, Dr. Macon, to do a little bit of research for me, and he did. He's done an outstanding job. On May the 12th, 1973,
Oh boy.
Greg Ward pitched 2 complete games and won both of them. So he had to pitch more than say 100 pitches, like maybe. Well, anyway, he pitched at least 200 pitches that day. Wasn't no such thing as a pitch count. And now another thing, we've had 5 coaches in the last 51 years. Before Coach Richardson, there was a gentleman named Powers. He was the coach in 19. Let me see, when was it? I done forgot all that. Anyway, John Powers was the coach from 67 to 69. He won 47 games, lost 40, and tied 1. And that's when Richardson stepped in. And that's 51 years. And since then, in 5 coaches, this is the worst head coach we've had, including Chad Holbrook. If all you young generation would have left Ray Tanner alone, quit telling them you got to fire Chad Holbrook, we would be in a lot better shape today than we are now. Coach Kingston has pulled the pitcher out 5 games that I know of in the last 3 weekend series. 5 of them. When they were leading and they were pitching pretty good, but he wanted to change pitchers. We don't have a Matt Price. So why don't you leave the pitcher in there as long as he's pitching good? Another thing, he said, this guy's okay, that guy's okay, all this is okay. Why? It's not okay. If they're okay, why do they give up 13 runs? I am telling you today, we have, well, anyway, I'll put it this way. Changes got to be made. If you don't want to make them now, and if we keep on going like we're going, there's 6 more weekend series, I think. Well, if you can win 6 of them, we'll be 12-6, and we I don't know, we might not even make the SEC baseball tournament. Coach Kingston is not the coach. He don't know how to. He's not coaching Gamecock baseball. And that lady that told Heath yesterday, I need to apologize. I am not apologizing. This is one time Gamecock Larry goes stick to his guns.
Your
We got
approval
to
rating is
have
dropping
a-
drastically.
got
People are
that-
telling you to apologize.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Told me I
your
needed
approval.
to apologize.
I think we just got a letter in that says from now on you're just Larry.
You wanted to give Chad Holbrook a 6th year. Why don't you want to give Mark Kingston a 6th year? Maybe he can turn it
Oh,
around
good
next
Lord,
year.
let's
What
not
about
go
all
down-
the
let's
others?
not go down this path.
Wait a minute. Where did this guy come from? Where did this guy come
Giving
from?
up on him
Chad
after 5
Holbrook?
years?
Chad Ho. Oh Lord! I
Get the
better
research
hang
team
up
back
before I
out.
get mad.
Get the research team back out. Get the research team back
Did
out.
the research team tell you about Greg Ward's professional career?
Did you look this up?
Yeah.
That's how long that
Oh,
rant
yeah.
was. Patrick had time to look up
Yeah.
Greg Ward.
Gamecock Larry, he threw 2.
Okay,
he
I'll
threw
say,
2.
go, okay.
Greg Ward threw 2
You
complete
go
games in
ahead.
college and then retired at age 23.
His arm fell off.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
we'll continue to monitor it.
I'll let you go. Make fun of me, but I'm gonna call. Make fun of me, but you'll find out.
Oh, we
Go
will.
Gamecock.
Okay, yeah. All right, Larry. Thank you.
Greg Ward played for was drafted by the Orioles in the 13th round, played for the Lodi Orioles for 1 year, the Charlotte O's the next year, and that was it.
Okay. Well, it's 2 games. Let's get set him
Well-
back.
Well, and RL on the live stream makes a good point. The velocity of pitches is so different than it used to be. So there's no way it's harder on their arms.
They didn't have Tommy John surgery back then.
Exactly. Mhm.
It is. It's we talked about that with Noah Hall at 108 pitches. I mean, maybe you run him back out there for the 8th, but he wasn't going to complete he wasn't going to have the complete game on Friday night. And there is injuries to that staff. As somebody pointed it out yesterday. There's several injuries that have decimated some of the depth, some of the guys that probably you would have been looking at. They've got to find a way still as coaches, Patrick. You get paid the money to somehow generate a pitching staff to hold on to leads against Georgia, against Clemson, and a few other ball games, and be able to produce a winning season. Tonight, North Florida, that game will be against 7 o'clock. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We'll also get into this. Jess has a question for Patrick, our resident Panthers fan. Says, saw a prediction for my Carolina
Not me.
Panthers.
Jess is the resident Panthers
Right.
fan.
Yes, you're Jess on our text line, the resident Panthers fan, says Carolina Panthers saw a prediction not for the Carolina Panthers not going with a quarterback, but going with offensive lineman Charles Cross from Mississippi State, which we need help on the offensive line. Says, I know it's a prediction, but man, oh man, this team has me nervous about picking the first-round pick. We'll get Patrick's take on that pick and get into a little bit more of his NFL draft takes. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next halftime show.
Hey guys, Jay and Terry coming up on the Tuesday halftime show. Tommy will get us ready for Gamecock baseball against North Florida. We're counting down toward the spring game and beginning to keep an eye on the transfer portal. I wonder if Carolina could get Russell Westbrook.
He has eligibility. Remember, he left UCLA early.
Yeah, but Lamont likes to play defense, so
Yeah,
I guess
well,
he's out.
Yeah, but Russ would say, I'd love to play for you if I just can stop at half court.
And we'll probably talk more about the Lakers in the playoffs. Oh wait, Terry, they didn't make it. Halftime show, Tuesday at noon. See you.
The halftime show with Jay, Terry, and Tommy.
Noon to 3.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
It is time for you to call Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. Why? Well, because right now you need someone with experience in the mortgage industry. There's still times and opportunities for you to be able to refinance, maybe do a cash out refinance, get some money back, put it in your pocket, put it toward a home improvement project, or you know what? A big vacation. Maybe we all need a big vacation right now, and you can actually do that by doing a cash out refinance. Just do it with Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. Give them a phone call today and get a free evaluation of your current mortgage situation. 843-524-2404. You can visit them on the web as well. Buford.mortgage. Right now, having experience in your corner when trying to get a refinancing or trying to purchase a home, maybe you're a first-time home buyer, having that experienced broker, it is absolutely vital. And with Benji Getsy, you get someone who's got 25 plus years of experience to help shop and lock your rate in today. Also, being good at his job, pretty important. And Benji Getsy named in the top 1% of producing loan officers in the state of South Carolina and the entire United Wholesale Mortgage Network. So if you are purchasing, it's time to call Benji Getsy, 843-524-2404. You can shop your rate with Benji. He will get you a lower rate, which will give you more buying power. So don't miss another day. Call Benji Getsy today, 843-524-2404. That's Benji Getsy and Buford Lending.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
No accidents to report. That's good news for your early morning. But we do have a report of an object on the highway I-77 northbound right there at Bluff Road. It's impacting the right lane. So just be careful as you head through there until that gets cleared away. Again, that's I-77 northbound at Bluff Road. Warmer conditions for the next few days. 84, 83 today and tomorrow. Some scattered storms rolling in on Thursday and some afternoon showers on Friday. Right now.
Hello. There we go. Would you go see that?
No.
Not up your alley?
Nah, it's not my kind of.
I'm gonna try and see Harry Potter this weekend.
I don't know if my speaker's working. Oh wait, what? It's a pre.
It is a prequel series.
Yeah.
And it is also a bummer because this is, I assume, the last of that series. And they've been building up the big war, and Johnny Depp was the bad guy. and because he got dropped from the movie because his wife was crazy, and they went to court over all that stuff. You remember any of that?
Mm.
Amber Heard, yeah, she's nuts. So it was a high profile celebrity divorce, and they kicked him off the movie, gave him $20 million to not be in the movie, and then replaced him.
For this one, for the Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yeah. So now it's Mads Mikkelsen.
And who is he supposed to be?
Gellert Grindelwald.
And that is the one that
It's the International Wizarding War, so he's the one that wanted to basically kill all the Muggles.
Ah.
And Dumbledore and those guys are standing up for the Muggles.
Makes sense. Of course.
He was Voldemort before Voldemort.
You know who the teacher is in the Peanuts? You know,
Yeah.
the Snoopy series. Wah, 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 wah.
Uh-huh.
That's all I just heard.
You didn't see the Harry Potter series?
Oh, no. No interest whatsoever.
Are you asking me that or her?
I was asking her that.
Oh. Okay.
Did you see them?
I watched the first maybe 2 or 3. I think where I lost interest was when the Falcon flew in and cried on Harry because
it was
of the
a
big
phoenix.
snake.
It was a
Yeah,
phoenix.
something okay, and cried on him, and he came
And
back.
it wasn't
to
a
life.
snake, it was a basilisk.
Looked like a snake.
It was a basilisk.
Yeah, that fantasy stuff has never been of interest. Now, maybe I should give it a try. Somebody would have to convince me.
Yeah, I got into it a little bit. I mean, it wasn't. I got into it more than I've gotten into like the Avengers or.
It's one thing to not obsess over it, to have never seen any of the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah,
the
no, I've
largest
seen-
movie series in the
I've
history
seen
of the
3,
world.
and I've even seen the very end of it where they fight on the bridge out there, and it's everything they finally
that
win.
was a terrible scene.
Yeah, I've seen just enough of it. Go back here. That reminds me, I gotta send an email.
This commercial cracks me up.
Good old days are being made right now. Do you believe that something?
And then it's an ice cream commercial, and that's all it is. But they make it
I'm pretty sure that's like
that
the
jingle.
Old, that's the old school.
Yeah.
You won't know that you won't get the reference, but some of the live streamers will. The old, I think it's Carolina Pride commercial. Jen, this is probably before you got here. I grew up on Sunday mornings when they would have the Joe Morrison or Sparky Woods show. You know, you'd have that was when the coaches shows meant something. Like you got up at like at 11:30. They weren't. I don't even know if they have coaches shows anymore. Like I don't know if Shane Beamer has a coaches show. You know, they used to have the Steve Spurrier show
Right.
too.
Yep.
And that was how you'd rewatch the game. Like, I mean, that was to me. That
They
was,
have them on YouTube.
Do they?
Yeah.
But they had the kid Billy, who now is old enough to be my grandfather, and he was building the birdhouse.
No idea.
Oh, I have
to go look those up.
Does Bluebell put plastic over their ice cream now after that girl licked the thing and called it Fluebell?
.651 on a Tuesday morning, April the 12th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, trying to maybe add a little bit more positivity to the program after Larry came on and just very down, very, very down on the baseball program. Just anti-baseball, just not the Larry that we've grown accustomed to and love.
I mean,
So,
he has engaged a research team at this point.
he has.
I mean, so he's serious about either making his points or making a change.
He is all in. It's very unfortunate to hear. Very unfortunate. We will continue talking some about that this morning as we go along South Carolina, North Florida tonight over at Founders Park, 7 o'clock. You can catch it on the SEC Network Plus. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. But back to some NFL discussion, Patrick, and it was Jess asking what I think is a very valid question as it pertains. The NFL draft is 2 weeks from Thursday. I know you're all fired up about that. and it's really getting down to crunch time as far as teams having decisions ready to go. The Carolina Panthers, obviously a local team, so to speak, just up the road. And I'm with you. I think you've got him projected to take Kenny Pickett at 6, and neither of us like that pick. We think that that's a dud pick. You may as well go with the best available player. And Jess says, what about Charles Cross from Mississippi State, an offensive lineman?
So Charles Cross is the best pass blocker in the class for sure. There's probably for most people a tier 1, which is Ike Ekwonu, NC State, Evan Neal, Alabama, Charles Cross, Mississippi State. Ike Ekwonu is the best run blocker, most physical. Charles Cross, the best pass blocker. Evan Neal, the freakiest, just overall human probably in the draft. So I think that's what most Panthers fans would want is an offensive lineman. They're not going to compete this year. And honestly, the best case scenario would be trading down. They don't have a second-round pick because of Sam Darnold. They don't have a third-round pick because of C.J. Henderson. They don't have another top 100 pick because of ineptitude and trading valuable picks for nothing, for non-contributors. And the same people that traded those picks are making the draft picks now. They're desperate to save their jobs, which means they're going to probably need to draft a quarterback because they need to attach themselves to a quarterback. And if Kenny Pickett goes out there, throws for 3,000 yards, and they can win 7 games, then they might have a leg to stand on and say, look, we just need a year or 2 out of Kenny Pickett, and we'll start progressing, and we can start building this thing. That's not what any Panthers fan probably wants. I would say tank this year. Trade that pick or draft an offensive lineman so that when you do draft a quarterback next year, there will be someone to protect them. Like, it's just, they're in such a bad position. No second-round pick and no third-round pick, no money, and not that much talent on the roster. That's why I've said there's not many teams in worse positions than the Panthers.
Then, like you said, if you trade it, you obviously look down the future. What do you try to get for that? Do you just trying to get players to help you for this year? Or if you trade it, are you going for future first-round picks, maybe a first and a second, or I don't know how you gauge. I'm with you. I kind of am with Jess on this, taking in terms of the best offensive lineman and just see if you can build an offensive line and then be able to put a quarterback in place. Is Sam Darnold so awful that he can get you 4 wins, right?
I would start him for 17 games and just say,
let him ride out the contract.
Give me that top 5 pick next year, baby.
Let him ride out the contract there. What is it? Was it a 2-year, 3-year contract?
He got his 5th-year option.
Okay.
So he's still on his rookie deal, but he got his 5th-year option, which I believe is $18 million.
I know it's $18 million, but I didn't know. So you let him go for a year. You try and increase your offensive line talent. Maybe go along with the defense. How bad is that defense when you look at it? Because they have drafted there over the last few years, but I don't know if it's necessarily paid off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. There's a lot there to like, but they also were without J.C. Horn, who's going to be a really, really important part of that defense this year. They had Stephon Gilmore last year. Who knows what the rest of that secondary is going to look like? Jeremy Chin has shown a lot. Shaq Thompson is awesome. They signed Matt. They got Matt Ioannidis from Washington, and then him with Derek Brown should give them a pretty good little duo there on the interior. Brian Burns is phenomenal. So there's a lot to like on the defense. Their biggest issues are all over the offensive line. They really, other than Taylor Moton, they really can't go wrong with anything on the offensive line. And then I would say they're in desperate need of skill players too. I mean, DJ Moore is awesome. DJ Moore is one of the most underrated players in the league. That's all they got. I mean, that's really it.
We'll get more into that as we go through the hour number 2. We'll get into a question about Green Bay as well. Also, last night, speaking of draft, Destiny Henderson ends up falling a little bit in the draft. She goes with the 20th pick to the Indiana Fever. The quick analysis of her is that Kelsey Mitchell and Henderson on the court together might give Indiana the fastest end-to-end backcourt in the league. That's from Charlie Cream of ESPN. We'll talk more NFL. We'll get back into college basketball as well, and South Carolina spring football, the early game on 107.5 The Game.
I actually think this week might be the week to get the movie subscription back going up again. I'm looking at all of them right now.
This commercial and the Miss Cake, Tasty Cake commercial too that I now despise.
The what?
Tasty Cake commercial.
Hey, Austin.
What's up, Austin? You on spring break?
On spring break and up early. That's impressive.
A lot of PlayStation to be played today. Got to make sure you got energy for the playoffs tonight or the play-in games tonight. Cavaliers, Nets, Clippers, Timberwolves. What card? He's got this. It is free.
$7:01 on a Tuesday morning, April the 12th, rolling right through the month of April. And here in studio, we have got the South Carolina, North Carolina Dukes Mayo Bowl going on. It is currently airing on the SEC network. Zeb Nolan just taking a sack, but don't worry. The Gamecocks are up 18-7. We'll keep you updated on the Dukes Mayo Bowl at 9:35 to go in the second quarter, Patrick. It could be a barn burner and a huge upset.
By the way, I was talking about the Beast, the athletic draft guide, the Athletic, the website, their draft guide. It has 1,698 players on it. Not on that list. 1,698. Mind you, there are 250 something draft picks. Jalen Foster is not one of 1,698 players ranked.
But are you surprised by that? Because
yeah,
maybe I'm a little.
He was an All-American. 1,698 players.
But does that necessarily translate to being a great NFL player? I think you can be a great college player.
This
Tim
list,
Tebow-esque.
This list has 1,100 players who are not going to get drafted.
1,100 players who are not going to get drafted?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, more than that.
But I guess my point, Jalen Foster, and we'll start here this hour talking a little bit about South Carolina spring game, because you do have to replace Jalen Foster.
There's almost 1,500 players on this list that will not get drafted.
And I get where you're coming from with this. I think it's interesting. Jalen Foster was developed himself, by the way, into a really good college football player. Obviously, we know all the background started at Gardner-Webb, moved on to South Carolina, went on to become, again, as you mentioned, an All-American and did some really good things. But I don't know if that always translates necessarily to being a great NFL player. But when we talk about South Carolina football in this coming season, Patrick, I think it's kind of interesting when you look back there and that secondary can get a little bit better. A lot of reports so far, a lot of people that have watched or talked about the practice are starting to really rave about Cam Smith. We'll see who the other defensive back ends up being, whether it's Marcellus Dial. Darius Rush certainly came on last year, was a big part of it. We'll see if somebody else is able to come in. Maybe you've got a bunch of freshmen coming in with Emory Floyd and with Keenan Nelson Jr., several other defensive backs there that could certainly come in and make an impact. O'Donnell Fortune is a guy that either Torian Gray and Clayton White really kind of rave about. We didn't see much of him last year. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens with that secondary, and in particular, trying to replace a Jalen Foster. Devontae Reed looks like he gets the first shot there. And you talk about another guy that's just interesting to see him perform on Saturday night. I think the Central Michigan transfer, Devontae Reed, is a guy that maybe you get a little excited about looking at Saturday night.
He's actually, he was getting buzz from not South Carolina fans, like actual national buzz. I guess he was really, really good at Central Michigan. So I don't know. I was excited for Tyrese Ross last year. I thought he was going to contribute right
and he's
away.
Still there, and you just wonder if, year two being in the system and having done some things, like, just being around. I talked to somebody this past week, and it was the conversation was very simple. I just said, how big of a difference has just year two stability? Just knowing, even with Marcus Satterfield and the offense, and we all know where we stood in early December in regards to Marcus Satterfield and the offense. But just in year two, having basically the same coaching staff, sans Mike Peterson, who's going through drills, having a lot of the same players back who understands what the coaching staff wants and the drills that they're trying to do. And I've been told it's night and day over there, just with a comfortability standpoint, just understanding what exactly they want to do.
Yes, and I'm sure that's part of it, but I feel like safety is a really difficult position to evaluate or really just know what to expect, because you can watch a pass catcher and a guy that can win one-on-ones as a pass catcher and who can make plays after the catch, and you can just watch them do their job. A defensive lineman that consistently pushes guys into the backfield. Pass rushers that consistently beat their tackles, but safety is very much a fit thing. Like, is Devontae Reed the perfect fit for Clayton White's defense? Is that schematically what he does best? We have no idea. So safety is like really hard to project for me.
803-404-6100. It is. We've talked a lot, obviously, about quarterbacks, and we've talked a lot about running backs. Certainly, when you talk about Marshawn Lloyd and Christian Beal-Smith, and you kind of start breaking down the offense, the wide receivers. Yeah. But that secondary improving, Patrick, is certainly a position that South Carolina has to continue to upgrade. When they've been at their best, and you think about it, we got to move this microphone here. It's driving me crazy. I can't see it. There you go. But when we talk about this secondary, South Carolina's been at their best under Ellis Johnson and during the Steve Spurrier era, when you had Gilmore and Holloman, and you had DJ Swearinger back there, and even a Jimmy Legree and a Victor Hampton. And South Carolina, the last few years, they've had really good players. J.C. Horn and McQuamu, Rashad Fenton was back there. For whatever reason, though, the sum of all the individual parts didn't equal a great secondary. And I think that was one of the most frustrating things with Will Muschamp's
groups. Not just in the secondary.
Well, but in
just NFL talent,
right?
Not,
but I think even for the secondary, because you saw guys who appeared to be really good players back there, who just for whatever reason it couldn't pan out. I mean, we go back to the Mississippi game during the COVID year, and Lane Kiffin's calling up plays, and as soon as the ball snapped, he sees the big touchdowns throwing his sheet up in the air, and just for whatever reason, the secondary as a unit could play together. But last year, maybe less talent across the board, and we were really worried. Remember, in August, we were really worried when Karan Prunty transferred out, and you're going, all right, who in the world is going to be that second defensive back? Karan Prunty, I think, has finally ended up at North Carolina A&T, by the way. But the bottom line on this is you hope, again, a second year and a guy like a Tyrese Ross, who showed up late last year, showed up in August, maybe adds another level of depth along with R.J. Roderick back there. Excuse me.
You would hope so. It's just secondary is probably the hardest thing to evaluate because one, offenses are just so incredible right now that great offense is always going to be great defense. The rules indicate that too, and the speed of college football and just everything's geared against the defense. We can't see them on TV most of the time. I mean, we see interceptions happen, and we see if the ball's thrown and a guy's 5 yards away from his receiver, we see, okay, that was bad coverage, I guess. We only see it on replays, so it is kind of hard to judge, but I feel like last year they were pretty good, but mostly just opportunistic. Like that's what I feel like the secondary has been for a couple years. Like every once in a while they'll come up and make a big play, a big interception. That's kind of what Jalen Foster was. If you look at his stats, you'd think that he was the best player in the country. I mean, his interception numbers were crazy, but I just don't know if that was him being instinctive, him being kind of lucky, because there were some that were just kind of thrown right to him. And the secondary, it's just really, really hard to know. And it just goes so hand in hand with the defensive line. Like you're really going to need big years from Birch, from Strawn. You can't let these quarterbacks drop back and just sit in the pocket for 5 seconds because they'll just pick you up no matter what.
It is fair. All right, we'll transition down a little bit then. It is fair to expect this to be the year for George Birch, right? For all the hype.
Oh, yeah.
Like
if it's ever going to happen.
Like, it's at this point, he's had the same defensive line coach. I guess maybe for him it's a little bit different with Mike Peterson leaving and Sterling Lucas coming in, but kind of the same concepts, the same defense there for 2 years in a row. He's been allowed to be in the weight room now for an excessive amount of time at a college strength and conditioning program. This is the year where he has to put everything together and live up to that 5-star billing. And if he does, then I don't know if we can quantify just how big that would be for the defensive line to make that next step forward. I still think, by the way, the biggest thing is not so much pressuring the quarterback. It's being better at stopping the run.
Yeah.
South Carolina last year, they got gashed at times in the run game, and that's what led to some big losses. You think about the Missouri game. Auburn, we can debate a million things about that Auburn game. One thing I feel like we're all confident is if they just keep feeding Tank Bigsby the ball, if they just dedicate to feeding him the ball, that outcome might be a little bit different. Stopping the run early on, and especially with Arkansas in week 2, is going to be imperative.
Yeah, because you have to put them in non-advantageous situations. If you're consistently giving up not even third downs, if you're not forcing third downs, but if you're forcing third and shorts, it just makes the defense's job so much harder. Like the whole playbook's open on a 3rd and 3 for an offense. So if Birch has that type of year, it should be his last year at Carolina. Like that's if he lives up to his billing as the best recruit since Clowney, he should put it all together, have a dominant year, and then go to the pros. I don't know if anyone's expecting that, but that's the trajectory he should be on.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program this morning. Again, getting more into the spring game coming up this Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Williams-Brice Stadium. Kelly on the Buford Lending live stream asks, what's our prediction for attendance for the game Saturday night? I think the weather is projected to be really nice. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the big Gamecock weekend and everything going on as it pertains to baseball and the Cocky Trot, which Patrick's very fired up about. He's already dedicated himself to training and being ready to go for the 5K there on Saturday morning. Projected weather, as I look at it right now, Patrick, 25% chance of rain, high of 79. If it's got a chance, if the weather turns out to be nice, I would estimate is 50,000 asking too much? Am I crazy on that, or is that
50,000 would be a wild success? What would be a disappointment?
I would think anything under 30. I would think anything under 30 would be a
35,000. There's going to be a lot of empty space with 35,000 people there.
I think the interesting thing on that is that you've got the Heritage going on Saturday. Some people maybe will decide that that's where they want to be, and then you've got Easter weekend, and it's tough. If you're
in spring break, a lot of people might be out of town.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know all the school districts that are out. I know Lexington won. Austin, who is jumping up on our Buford Lending live stream. My son, he's on spring break and he's wide awake at 7:12 a.m. Good for him.
Right.
But the bottom line is, like, I don't know if people are coming back in with Easter though. Maybe people aren't willing to drive up from Charleston or from Greenville knowing it's a 7 o'clock game. Maybe they think that they can leave by 9 and get back. I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting. Craig says 40,000. on the attendance. I would, Patrick, I would say anything over 30, anything less than 30,000 is a massive disappointment. It is an opportunity right
So
now.
30 to 50 is what's expected. Anything below 30 is a failure, and anything above 50 is a success.
It's a massive success, I
I
think.
think so.
I would think Patrick
Gravy.
Davis will have his concert. There's a lot going on there.
Oh, I thought Jones was going to say
Oh
something.
no, I'm just saying that to me, anything over 50,000, that's gravy. Like
Oh,
it's a massive success.
I think you just look.
There's not as many people that are going to be interested in going to the baseball game now. So you're not going to lose people
You're
because
right.
they're going to say, well, I'm going to go to the baseball game instead of
And
the
wear
football
myself
game.
out. I mean, obviously different times, but you go through the list of recruits that is expected to be in town. Dylan Longerin, the big time quarterback, Trayon Webb, the big time running back. They've got Christian Hamilton, who's an elite wide receiver out of North Carolina. South Carolina's got some big time recruits coming in, and that's why you hear Shane Beamer putting out, I believe, South Carolina football putting out the tweet yesterday, I believe, with Shane Beamer saying, yeah, we need you there. We want you there. They want to showcase the crowd, the facilities. You want to showcase everything. That's what spring games, to me, you certainly make it about improving your football team with a singular practice, but you use it as a recruiting showcase to say, hey, look at what our fans are willing to do. Look at the passion we have, the energy. And as we sit here and look now at we look up at the SEC network here on the TVs we have in studio and continue to see the Dukes Mayo Bowl on television, there is still a lot of energy and excitement coming off of that game and what this team could be in 2022.
I think people thought you were serious about me running in the 5K in the morning.
Yeah. If you haven't heard it, Patrick is
I detest the idea.
very,
Right.
very anti 5K.
That's a long time to be outside.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
When people keep trying to just force running to be a part of days of rest and relaxation, there's nothing I hate more than the concept of a turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning. It's horrible.
Yeah,
Why would you do that?
It's not even.
It's fun. It's camaraderie. It's
We can do a lot of things that create camaraderie and that are fun that don't involve running.
Does it involve a glass and some ice?
That as well.
Thanksgiving is a day of gluttony.
I'll go do. I would rather. I'm with Patrick on this. I would rather wake up and on Thanksgiving morning, and I am pro some kind of workout
Waking
on
up? Good.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, I am pro waking up too. But I am on Thanksgiving morning in particular, getting up, knowing and doing a little workout, like just kind of getting everything going. So I would be with you. I would say I would be willing to get up, and I'm not going to do this year, or I'm not going to try to forget that we had this conversation. I would rather go do the bar 3 in the morning and then come back and be ready to start than I would doing a turkey trot.
We have a date. That's a turkey burn.
Roll out of bed and do 5 push-ups and then go eat some breakfast. I mean, what?
It's the same. Yeah.
Yes.
Just roll out of bed, 5 push-ups.
Go to the backyard, throw the football a little bit, play fetch with your dog. That's good enough. Get ready for the spring game. Don't pull a muscle running in a 5K. If there's under 50,000 people there, I'm going to blame it on people pulling muscles in the 5K and having to go ice their legs at home and just watch it on TV.
This old man rant brought to you by
streaming. Yeah. 803
And I want if anyone does hurt themselves running in the 5K in the morning and it ruins their spring game plan, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
I want to know about it, and I
I'm
will
going
talk
to
about
harass
it.
you mercilessly.
Yeah. That will be the only thing I talk about on Monday. Bill will want to talk about the game and break down what we saw. I'll want to talk about the idea that they had a 5K. And
somebody
and
got hurt.
Somebody.
Sounds fair for this program that we put on here.
Get an orthopedic doc on the phone. This is why you should not do this.
Yes.
803-404-6100. We'll continue on this. We'll also get back into the discussion on the NFL. We had a question on who the Packers will take. We'll look at more of Patrick's draft picks coming up here as we work our way through the NFL draft. 2 weeks from Thursday night, the NFL draft will take place. And just FYI, South Carolina and Juju McDowell has just scored another touchdown on North Carolina in the Dukes Mayo Bowl. A 35-yard touchdown run. Juju McDowell's kind of become forgotten, right?
Yes, 100%. And I don't know why. All they did was lose 2 running backs that are going to play in the NFL next year, and now all of a sudden Juju's role has been minimized.
I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
It's a weird thing that you talk about weapons on offense. McDowell with a 35-yard run off the left side there in South Carolina now up, and he's dancing on the sideline.
What running back scores the most touchdowns?
Oh, good question. We'll get into that. Send that in wait a minute, on Saturday night or
No, this year.
this year? 803-404-6100. Which running back scores the most touchdowns this year? We'll take your answers. We'll get into some NFL talk and more. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Yeah, Kelly. I don't think we try to run anymore.
I mean, my family does Lake Anna. I have an aunt that lives at Lake Anna in Virginia. And one of the aunts that lives there, they were runners, and they used to start every vacation with a 5K on Monday. And everyone hated it. And I had to run in it. Everybody had to participate.
Are we being heard again, or is my computer having audio issues today?
Hello? Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
So yeah, we always had to start vacation with a 5K. And it was terrible, and it was hilly, and everyone would be sore, and everyone would be miserable. The year after, I believe, it was after my senior year at high school, or maybe after my freshman year where I played lacrosse, I did a sub, I think 27-minute 5K. It was the best I've ever done.
So you have run 5Ks.
I've run a lot of 5Ks. I hate them.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I agree, Kelly. We now know why he's salty. Austin says Christian Bill Smith for most touchdowns. That's a good pick. I think he's going to
get the most carries.
I think he's going to be up there for carries, yeah. It might be more of the goal line running back. Oh, I need to get up and move around. Yeah.
I know I have to stand up because I'm running out of breath when I talk sitting down.
Yeah, the man
expand the diaphragm.
The man who is terrified of a 5K right now is standing up because he's running out of breath sitting down doing a radio show.
I've been wheezy.
Tough life we live in here in the studio. Oh, I do need to stretch. Where's Robin? Robin's gone to get her twins donuts today.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, while that 5K is going on, I'll be on 95 North, headed to Maryland.
It's the best way to handle a 5K.
Not participate.
Yeah.
What time is the run? Do you know?
I thought it was 9 a.m.
Yeah, so I'll be about 5 hours into my drive.
It's a big jump, big guy. 5 touchdowns or 10. I'd say Landon maybe has 3 touchdowns this year. What am I looking for? Carolina. What's the official title of this weekend? Big Gamecock weekend?
Yeah.
They kind of stopped promoting that.
Has Austin seen the Harry Potter movies?
I don't think so. I don't think he's a Harry Potter guy.
Yet. Austin, I'll lend your dad my Harry Potter DVDs so that he watches them with you. He has to watch them with you. You watch the whole Harry Potter series.
Oh, there's post-game fireworks. Yeah, I think the only way we can watch DVDs is to go sit in the car and watch them.
What about the PlayStation?
Yep. I did forget about the PlayStation.
That's the only function my Xbox serves is DVD player now.
PS5s are still really hard to find, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, you hear that, Austin? PS5s are still about impossible to find.
Yeah, just because your dad's not a movie guy doesn't mean you have to miss out on the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
I saw most. I don't want to say I saw most of it. Again, I think I saw the first. I really saw the first 3. What in there? There ended up being 7. Is that right?
8 because there's 7 books and the last one's a 2-parter.
Okay. So 8. I was close.
Can you name the title to any one single Harry Potter movie?
The Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, that's number 2. Pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't think Bill has HBO Max, do you?
No, I don't have HBO Max. We don't have HBO. We've got Amazon. We've got Netflix. We've got.
I'm on record as if you could only have one streaming service, HBO is the one to have.
Really?
I think it's the best. Yeah, poll question. Does Bill need to watch all the Harry Potter movies with Austin?
You leaving Austin? It ain't like you got to go to school. Go outside and run some laps. Get ready.
Go play PlayStation and simulate the playing games for tonight and let us know who's going to win.
You could do that in a little while, yeah.
Cavs or Nets?
Oh. Pre or post 2015?
Nets. I agree.
Is that the Grayson? Yeah. Nets tonight. You can come home and watch that. Do some. Cleveland and Brooklyn, LA and Minnesota tonight. Charlotte's in the playing game. Really not paid attention.
Yeah, they play if they win, they play the loser of Nets Cavs, I think. Is that right?
It's probably 7th place versus 8th place. Rooster P, somewhere out and about in the great country that we have, says he will be at the spring game on Saturday night, smiling and a waving. Jeff says if it takes 5 attempts to roll out of bed, does that count as 5 crunches?
Yes, you're activating the core.
Okay, there you go.
Any activation of the abdominal muscles is a crunch.
So we got that going.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's Patrick's motto for some exercise early in the morning. And then Matt weighing in as a answer to what we posed right before the end of the last segment regarding which running back will have the most touchdowns this coming season. And he goes with Christian Beal-Smith. And then Marshawn Lloyd second says Smith to be used more in goal line to go packages and short yardage plays. Lloyd in longer down situations. Juju as a scat swing back with less touches. Patrick, last year, this is very interesting to me as it pertains to the offense. Last year, it felt like Jaheim Bell proved himself as the year went along, but we didn't really know what Jaheim Bell was going to be at the beginning of the year. Josh Vann, we had a lot of questions about him, but he kind of proved himself as the year went along. Nick Muse had shown over time that he could be a serviceable tight end, but you were still trying to find the pieces. Kevin Harris, Zaquandre White. I mean, again, Kevin Harris we kind of felt confident with as a running back, although remember he was out with the minor back surgery. We could never figure out how back surgery is ever minor.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, like, you go into this season and now you say, okay, Marshawn Lloyd, even though I don't know if he's proven anything, you feel better about that. Christian Beal-Smith has proven something at Wake Forest. Juju McDowell, I think, has proven something now. I don't know where you throw Josh Vann and Austin Stogner in, both, again, with college production. Amarion Brown played better at the end of last year. Juice Wells has got this production that we're talking about. Is it blind faith here that the offense should be a lot better, especially when you throw Spencer Rattler in there? Because I do think it's funny as we sit here and we look up at the television and you see McDowell with that 35-yard run as we sit here and they're replaying the Duke's Mayo Bowl this morning. And you talk about all these offensive pieces and Stogner, okay, he'll be better. And Jaheim Bell has been out most of the spring. And you do kind of lose focus on Juju McDowell and the role he could play in the offense this year.
It's not blind faith because you've you've got the best quarterback you have ever had. Bar none. He's the most talented quarterback that's ever put on a South Carolina jersey. That's not blind faith. It would be blind faith if you said, all right, we got this Wake Forest transfer running back, the transfer from JMU wide receiver, and this is going to be the Luke Doty stays healthy and puts it all together. That would be a little bit more blind faith. No, you've got a legitimate quarterback. He's going to go into the season top. What do you know what the Heisman odds at him as? The top 10, something like that. I mean, he's going to be one of the favorites for the Heisman, not the favorite, not really even probably close, not what he would be at Oklahoma, but a legitimate first round talent, Heisman talent, like everything. It's not blind faith. It will be one of the ultimate disappointments if the offense is not dynamic and substantially better. And at the very least, if it's not a top half of the league offense, it's a tremendous disappointment.
In case you're wondering, this is our good friends at VegasInsider.com with their 2022 Heisman Trophy odds. This is pretty up to date because there's some names on here that have transferred. For example, Jaden Daniels, and it lists him as the LSU quarterback at plus 75.
I don't know why it's expected he's just going to waltz in there and win the job right
Well,
away.
let me give you some of the, yeah. So like Max Johnson's at A&M, he's plus 6,600. Jaden Daniels is at LSU, he's plus 7,500. Casey Thompson, who was the quarterback at Texas, but is now the quarterback at Nebraska, is plus 7,500. Bo Nix at Oregon, plus 7,500. So you're hearing some of these names. Malik Cunningham, the quarterback at Louisville, plus 6,000. Tank Bigsby, plus 5,000. The running back, obviously, at Auburn. So, but let me move back up here to the top. This is courtesy of Vegas Insider. Obviously, your top three Heisman contenders right now is Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Caleb Williams. All right, those are your top three. I don't think anybody is questioning that. Number 4 on the list is Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. That's fair. DJU, quarterback at Clemson, who still got to earn his starting spot, is number 5 at plus 2,000. So your top 5 is Young, Stroud, Williams, Bijan Robinson, and DJU at Clemson. And then after that, you've got Jackson Dart, who is plus 3,000, Spencer Rattler, who's plus 3,000, Travion Henderson, who's plus 3,000, linebacker, defensive end, Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama, plus 3,000. Dylan Gabriel is in that mix. And it's got JT Daniels. So that tells you that even though everything else was up to date, it's got JT Daniels at plus 3,000, even though he's no longer the quarterback at Georgia anymore. So that would seem to be the one area. And I think he left before all those other guys. But I think he might, last I heard, I think he was visiting Oregon State. I'm not sure if he's found a home yet or not. So that's where this list gets a little skewed.
He's got had an official visit to West Virginia, apparently, last week.
So
this weekend.
Still trying to find a home there. But it is with this offense, it is interesting to see what South Carolina or how competent they could be. Ryan asks a good question too, and we forget about this one. Where do you guys think Corey Rucker fits in? Again, a guy from Arkansas State with at least proven production at the collegiate level. Now, can it carry over to the SEC, Patrick? You do feel like Shane Beamer, Marcus Satterfield, Justin Stepp, Jody Wright, they've all accumulated more skill position players, but how do they come together, and what exactly can they do under Marcus Satterfield's play calling?
Well, Corey Rucker, we don't know. I think it's very fair to say that there's 4 pass catchers with defined roles at this point. Josh Vann, obviously, because he contributed last year. Jaheim Bell will be probably the number 1 overall target. Stogner will be your dual threat, like inline blocker and pass catcher at tight end. And I think from everything that we've heard, it's hard to not put Juice Wells in that conversation now, because it does seem like it's pretty much a lock that he's going to be good. Like I was hesitant to say that too, but then when Brad came on and basically said, I'm hearing too much for it to not be legit, you have to expect. I mean, it'll be a tremendous disappointment if he's not good this year.
It's going to be interesting because Amarion Brown had a really good bowl game. Yeah. Can he carry that over? Does that carry over?
There's like a whole group of guys that could have roles. Amarion Brown, Landon Sampson, we'll see what happens when he gets on campus. Corey Rucker is going to be one of those depth guys. Like, there's space for them to carve out a role, but going into the year, like, there's 3 or 4 guys that are going to be contributors.
And then I think it's fair you ask kind of, all right, what exactly is the role of one Dakereon Joyner? Like
No idea.
Like I that is another fascinating question because you can't, in my opinion, I guess you can, but in my opinion, you can't just lock him down as a wide receiver, right? Like you've got to find multiple ways, line him up and say running back and hand him off the ball occasionally. I know we're talking about these running backs. Obviously, you can put him at wide receiver, you can put him at quarterback. He's got to be another guy that you move around into different positions to just be able to hand him the
But
football, right?
Can't he just I mean, I guess that's kind of what running back is, but just be a receiver that is also getting handoffs. Because I mean, it was different last year when we would say have a package. We said it for years. Have a package for Dakereon Joyner.
Right.
Have 10 plays that he can go out there and run. That changes now because you don't want to take Spencer Rattler off the field ever. I mean, it's just kind of a different situation when you were unsure about the quarterback versus now you have one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the conference, at least. You don't want him to be missing any plays, and he can also run too. So, I mean, you want to get Dakereon Joyner involved, but I don't. Is it at quarterback? I don't really think so.
That's a good question. According to these Heisman odds, again, yeah, you have the 3rd best quarterback in the league with Bryce Young at 1, Jackson Dart 2, and Spencer Rattler 3. So we'll continue talking about this. I do want to get in.
You didn't see Hendon Hooker's name on that list.
It's down here. It's actually way down on the list. I don't know if you're surprised.
He's going to put up huge numbers.
He is at plus 8,000 behind Bo Nix, behind Jaden Daniels, behind Max Johnson. So he's behind
I like
Sam
him
Hartman.
better than all those guys.
He's also behind Anthony Richardson.
Like him better than all those guys.
Hendon Hooker there plus 8,000. Again, I'm currently using the Vegas Insider website for the Heisman odds. You can go to vegasinsider.com. We'll continue talking about this. And yes, there's another good player. Here's another good player. Here's another interesting one. Anonymous texter, EJ Jenkins.
Right.
There's a lot of pieces here in how they use them. We'll continue talking about that. We'll get into some NFL discussion as well as it pertains to some draft picks. I want to get back into, somebody sent us a question about Green Bay Packers, which I think is a very interesting question for them, what they're going to do. A lot to get to this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, so much to get into this morning. You get fired up. Maybe you're thinking about getting out to the tailgate this coming Saturday and throwing the football around, I don't know, with the kids or maybe with your tailgating buddies. That's right. You want to relive your glory years. Yeah, you're in your 30s or your 40s, but you still are ready to play a little two-hand touch this weekend out at the tailgate. And again, relive those college days. But if you're suffering from joint pain, if you've been having nagging pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back, it can kind of limit you this weekend. You end up just snapping the ball and standing around because you're hobbling around. Don't let that happen. Call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation. 803-281-6860. QC Kinetics can get you a free consultation and a free second opinion. You can learn more about these amazing natural biologic treatments by calling QC Kinetics today. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. QC Kinetics is helping people here and all over America get real, lasting pain relief using highly concentrated, cutting-edge, natural biologic treatments. Find out for yourself. Get a second opinion today or a free consultation. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. Call QC Kinetics today and get back to living the life you enjoy living.
Kelly, I don't know. I could see an argument for obviously Bryce Young. You could say Hendon Hooker. You can say Jackson Dart. I can see the argument for Will Levis. I can't see an argument for him being anything lower than the 5th best quarterback in the conference. Who else was put ahead of him? I think it'd be crazy to say anyone at LSU is better than him right now. Stetson Bennett's not better than him. TJ Finley's not better than him. Whoever Missouri and Variable have aren't better than him. There's no way.
Talking a lot about South Carolina's spring game this morning, kind of looking ahead to that. We've been talking a lot of offense and not just Spencer Rattler at quarterback, but different personnel that could potentially make an impact and different people kind of weighing in with different names. Patrick,
people keep throwing in names that we forget.
It really is. I don't know what to expect from this offense this year because it feels like you have a bunch of just intriguing parts. Like Juju McDowell, I think is got to roll somewhere. EJ Jenkins, can he step up? That's a guy that we keep forgetting about. That was talked about a lot this time last year. A lot of comparisons to like people like Kyle Pitts or people that were probably wildly unfair to him. But yet you do that. Corey Rutger is a guy. You bring it up. It's interesting, I guess, because Juice Wells has been here this spring and people have been able to talk about him as opposed to Corey Rutger, who is the transfer from Arkansas State. But Patrick, I mean, you look at it, Corey Rutger's production at Arkansas State last year, really, Arkansas State, James Madison, Arkansas State is a little bit better competition, I would guess. But if you look at it, they're not too dissimilar. What Corey Rutger was able to do at Arkansas State in the Sun Belt, not that bad at all, and it feels like he gives you just another element at wide receiver. South Carolina obviously missing on Antonio Williams in recruiting, but Rutger last year, 59 catches, 816 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That's solid production. I don't know how much you read into it, but again, he's done it at the collegiate level. Arkansas State, Sun Belt, obviously not SEC in Arkansas, but go back last year. I was looking for the monster game he had, which I think came against if I go back here, the 7 catch, I think it was Louisiana Monroe, 7 catches, 103 yards in that game. He had some really solid games. It was another 4 catch, 115-yard game, which he called a bunch of deep passes. He's kind of supposed to be a deep pass kind of guy.
I'm just starting to try and name off people. Will South Carolina have 10 players catch 10 or more balls this year?
No, I think, and let me go back.
I mean, just start naming off. You got however many running backs you want to say. There's obviously Beal Smith, Marshawn Lloyd, Juju McDowell. I don't know if you want to put Rashad Amos or Carroll in that conversation. 2 tight ends, 3 if you want to count EJ. And then you just start naming receivers, and there's just so many. It's impossible to know who's going to be. Josh Van, Juice Wells, Landon Sampson, Marion Brown, Xavier Legette, someone just mentioned, Corey Rucker. I mean, that's
what I do expect is
someone's gonna just get lost in the shuffle.
It's gonna work its way out. I think it was me go back to our Buford Lending live stream where you can go and join us. And it was Travis saying, "What am I missing on Stogner? Why does everyone think he's going to be a big offensive weapon?" He's had again proven before a injury at Oklahoma was having some proven production. And Patrick, I kind of think because of the chemistry and having been around Spencer Rattler previously, that he'll kind of be the number one guy there as it pertains to pass catchers. I think it'll be him. I think you'll have Jaheim Bell and Josh Van be 2 and 3. Those will be your top 3 guys. Yeah. All of them can do a little bit. You've got Van, who's more of the wide receiver. You got Stogner, who's going to be your big middle of the field tight end. And then you got Bell, who can do a little bit of everything. And we saw the speed he displayed in the bowl game. So, there's just a lot of different pieces to that. But I think it's those 3. And then behind them, you're building in a Juice Wells, maybe a Landon Sampson, maybe a Corey Rucker. Maybe you're throwing some screens out of the backfield. I don't know.
See, I think if we said who is going to be the second most productive wide receiver, the vote would be overwhelmingly Juice Wells, the way people are talking right now. So if we said, I think the real question now is who is the number 3 receiver? Who was everyone leaning towards? I feel like there's a contingent of people that love EJ Jenkins and think that he can be the next, I don't know, you name it, Antonio Gates, like the Kyle Pitts, whatever. There's people that are all aboard Landon Sampson. He's going to be the next Julian Edelman or next great slot receiver, whatever you want to say there. People are all in on Corey Rucker. Like feel like there's a contingent of fans that think every different guy is going to be the next breakout star. And I don't, do you think there will, by the end of the year, it'll be a clear 1, 2, 3?
I think so. I do think that's going to be, I think, again, personal opinion with Austin Stogner and Spencer Rattler having that connection already. And you can go back in YouTube and see some of the clips of them, Rattler finding Stogner. I think that's going to transition from Oklahoma to South Carolina. Behind that, being able to build chemistry this offseason already. I do think there's an element that hurts a little bit of Jaheim Bell being injured for spring ball and not being able to go through some of the live action stuff with Spencer Rattler as opposed to, say, a Juice Wells or a Josh Van. And I don't think Jaheim Bell is just going to be a tight end this year. They're going to move him all around and utilize him both as a wide receiver and then they try and get him a mismatch on a linebacker or two. But I think at that point, that's where you start to see some separation come in, whether it be a Bell, a Van. I think Wells is your third guy right now.
Well, no, but wide receiver. Like, will there be a third wide receiver? If we say that Van's your number 1 wide receiver, pure wide receiver, and Juice Wells takes over the role of the second best, or maybe even better, will Landon Sampson or EJ Jenkins or someone, will they clearly establish themselves?
Because he's been around this spring and because you started to hear things better about him, Xavier Legette being a guy that maybe steps up, as somebody mentioned him a little while ago. Will asks, what about Jalen Brooks? Word is he's coming back. The thing with that, again, being out for the spring, at least you have what appears to be depth. Yeah. Like, at least it appears you're not running out a bunch of walk-ons in a scenario and hoping to see if one of them can be some kind of silver bullet to the wide receiving group. You do have guys, and again, Patrick had a good bowl game. Amarion Brown, maybe he feels more comfortable this year and you find different ways to get him involved. That's another guy that I think you just kind of throw out there is a guy that could be very interesting.
There's a lot of guys that brings something to the table. I just don't want them to become predictable. I don't want it to be, all right, Amarion Brown's on the field, they're going deep.
Right.
All right, EJ Jenkins is on the field only in red zone situations. I mean, that's kind of what I see EJ Jenkins being as a red zone guy, but I don't want the personnel to dictate what you're going to do. I don't want it to be obvious.
We'll continue talking about this. I do want to get into NFL discussion with Patrick. We'll do that when we come back and carry into the next hour. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Wonder what it'd be like to have equipment that works.
All right. I keep forgetting. I don't know why. Let me go back to this. Is KJ Jefferson not on this list for Miles Brennan is on there. KJ Jefferson is. He's plus 10,000. I thought Corey Rucker had some game that was maybe it was the one against Central Arkansas, but 9 catches, 138 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
It's pretty much all offense, right?
Yeah, we've pretty much done a good job of just getting some football talk in, which kind of crazy again because I Final few minutes of the 7 o'clock hour here on April the 12th, Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. We get you through. Big Gamecock weekend is, I believe, the final. The big Gamecock weekend starts Thursday, Patrick. We will actually be at Founders Park Thursday morning to get you up and get you going. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. will be in Ray Tanner's suite. But to give you the rundown of everything for this coming weekend, baseball Thursday against Mississippi, 7 o'clock first pitch time. Then you roll into Friday, a little beach volleyball, College of Charleston, 11 a.m. That'll be followed by some men's tennis versus Texas A&M at 5. More beach volleyball, Patrick, against Coastal Carolina, 5:30 p.m. And then baseball, 7 o'clock against Mississippi. So you get 4 events on big Gamecock weekend here on Friday. Saturday, to give you the rundown again, the Cocky Trot 5K Fun Run Walk begins at 9 a.m. Then you've got Track and Field Gamecock Invitational, which will be going on all day. There's a Gamecock Block Party sponsored by Palmetto Shirt Company beginning at 10 a.m. on William Street, just outside of Founders Park. More beach volleyball, Florida Gulf Coast, the opponent. That's time at 11 a.m. South Carolina's baseball game against Mississippi at 1. Beach volleyball against Georgia State at 3 p.m. Patrick Davis will have his pregame concert beginning at 5 p.m. in Gamecock Park. You have the alumni flag football game at 6 p.m. in Williams-Brice and the Garnet and Black Spring game at 7 p.m. And all that will be followed up with post-game fireworks following the conclusion of the spring game. And Patrick, we tried to trick everybody into thinking he would like the 5K, but you detest running or 5Ks or.
Shocks me that anyone believed you when you said that. Why would anyone think that I would be behind a 5K in the morning?
Yeah.
Is there a cause attached to it that I'm kind of being?
It does not say at this point.
Okay.
It just gives.
If it's running for the sake of running, then what are you doing?
Yeah, that sounds. As I read it, it's oh, and you got to pay for it.
You have to pay to run?
Well, yeah.
Registration is $35 for adults and $20 for youth, 17 and under. Fans will be able to register the morning of the race in Gamecock Village.
$20 for youths?
For the Utes, yeah.
So if you wanted to take your kids, it would cost you $75 to go run.
If you got 2 kids,
miles?
if you got 2, yeah. We'll
the
talk
game
more
is
about
free,
that.
but the run costs money. Okay.
We'll talk more about this and more. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
My laptop fan? Kind of, yeah. It's not there because that's a parking garage.
Well, I didn't know if it's like people just standing out there talking. Are we down here? It's just when you can hear it in here, you know it's exceptionally loud.
Can you hear it out there?
No. That's why I wonder if, honestly, if it's like somebody standing over there. It's kind of like I can hear me sharing out there.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to cut the promo. Oh, yeah. Oh. All right. Sorry, totally forgot. Let's go wandering off now. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Coming up on the Wednesday morning edition of the early game, we continue getting you ready for the upcoming spring game on Saturday. Patrick Perrette and I, we debate which one of us would be the better running back, maybe the quarterback, or the best water boy.
I thought we were just going to break down the NBA play-in games.
Oh, fine. You're right. We will get Jen Jensen's feelings on the NBA play-in games. Does she like the play-in games better or qualifying for NASCAR? Which one will it be, Jen?
NASCAR, hello.
That means a lot of NBA talk tomorrow. It'll be the early game, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Free, F-R-E-E, free. It is the word free, F-R-E-E. (8:01) on a Tuesday morning, April the 12th. Not a whole lot going on last night. The big news for South Carolina was as it pertains to Destiny Henderson, who was drafted in the WNBA draft last night by the Indiana Fever. She goes with the 20th overall pick and will head up to Indiana. I also want to let you know that you can, I guess, see Destiny coming up tomorrow, 6 o'clock. There will be a parade. The city of Columbia has announced plans for a parade to be held tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock, here on Main Street to celebrate South Carolina's women's basketball team on their 2022 national championship win. So you can come down with the family and participate. Join in the celebration with Dawn Staley and her ball club as they will have a parade through the streets of Main Street to celebrate the 2022 national championship victory over Connecticut last Sunday night. Am I right on that? Are we that far removed from it now? I'm starting to.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. Feels like it was just yesterday, but it was last Sunday night. So we will do that 6 p.m. tomorrow night downtown. You can come on down, hang out with Dawn Staley and her team. I guess Destiny will be back. I don't know what her requirements or obligations are in terms of getting over to Indiana to get going for the upcoming season, which begins May 6th for the WNBA.
That's a pretty quick turnaround, really.
Yeah, I looked at it last night, though. I think training camp begins, I believe, next week or the week after, and then you've got a couple weeks there of training camp and you get going. So, I mean, today's
a lot
the 12th.
of them play overseas, too,
right,
in the offseason, just because they don't make enough money. I know Breanna Stewart, one of the best players in the world, hurt herself overseas, supplementing her income.
Don't get me started on that topic.
There's a reason Brittany Griner was in Russia.
Well,
there
exactly.
is a reason Brittany Griner was in Russia. Yes.
Like if just for
not for vacation.
Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, you can come downtown tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, and check that out right on Main Street. It'll be the parade there to honor the women's team as they collect their 2022 national champions. What do you want to call it? Like festivities, honors, congratulations from the crowd. Certainly, we've already done one celebration at Colonial Life Arena, but we'll do a second one tomorrow night with the parade.
And then there will be a third one when Darius Rucker has a concert.
Yeah. Did you see there was a hullabaloo about that last night?
What's the hullabaloo?
It appears at the moment, unless what I read was fake news or misinformation, that it's only available to students.
Yeah, I did read that.
Is it on the Horseshoe?
At Colonial Life Arena, the place where they could put 18,000 people, about 15,000 there, depending on how you want to set up the stage. But it will only be available to students, which did not go over well in the Twitterverse last night with people feeling that they have a right to go to the free concert.
What?
Hey, man, Darius Rucker.
You don't have a right to do anything Darius Rucker doesn't want you to do.
Darius-
If Darius Rucker wants to throw a concert for the students, then he's throwing a concert for the students. Why do you get to what? It's his choice.
We want to hear
right?
Darius. Mr. Gamecock. Big deal.
It's his choice, right?
Big deal.
Who made that decision?
I didn't get into.
Because he played I think it was my freshman year he played a concert at the Horseshoe, and I just assumed it was only for students.
Yeah, he did. A lot of people asked why they wouldn't do it at the Horseshoe. I don't know. I'm sure you'll get more details on it in the coming days and what can actually come out of that, and maybe be some changes, or maybe I don't. We'll wait and see. So 803-404-6100. We've talked a lot about the spring football game this morning coming up on Saturday night. Patrick and I have really kind of gone a little bit more in depth than we have the last few weeks as it pertains to the offense and some of the guys now that will be part of this offense and what it'll look, not just Spencer Rattler, but some of the guys that Patrick, we kind of mentioned that have kind of been forgotten, EJ Jenkins and Juju McDowell. And I'll throw a Marion Brown in there because people get fired about the return of Josh Vann or what we saw Jaheim Bell do at the end of last year. Austin Stogner coming in, Christian Bill Smith, another transfer there that fans want to talk about. So you have a lot of pieces. We've talked a lot about that. We've also gotten into a little bit of NFL talk. And as we transition now 2 weeks away on Thursday on the NFL draft, yesterday you gave us your top 5 picks, or your top 5 mock top 5, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now we transition in. We talked a little bit about the Panthers today. Kenny Pickett, the likely number 6 pick. Let's go with this. If you're ranking your top 5 quarterbacks in this draft, your top 5 quarterbacks, give me the top 5 quarterbacks here and give me your sleeper. Give me your 6th guy, the sleeper who ends up starting double-digit games that we never saw coming.
None of these guys will start double-digit games.
Excellent.
That's what I'm saying. So actually, I did my top 5. My top 5, I have Malik Willis, number 1, as pretty much everyone does. The tools aren't comparable. His arm is better than everyone's. He's more athletic than everyone. If he started next year, he'd be, I want to say, the second best rushing option at the quarterback position in the NFL. Maybe third if Trey Lance is awesome, but it's Lamar Jackson, and then it's probably Malik Willis. He's that good of a runner. So he's number 1. Sam Howell's number 2, mostly because he's the youngest. He's the only true junior coming out. Got a huge arm, throws a really nice deep ball, good athlete. I can just see it with him the most. Number 3 is Matt Corral, just because good arm, good athlete. It's just played in the most college-y offense, and nothing that he did in college translates to the NFL whatsoever from a scheme standpoint. So just so hard to project Matt Corral, but I like his tools. Number 4, I have Desmond Ridder because I think he's probably, if you had to step in and start a game right now, he's probably the best suited to do so. And then 5 is Kenny Pickett. I just don't like Kenny Pickett that much. Was a 5th-year senior, didn't break out till his 5th-year senior year. I find that to be concerning. Good athlete, not a great athlete. He's pretty quick. I mean, he can actually move the change with his legs. Small hands, probably the worst arm of the 5, even though it's still good enough. Most accurate, but worst arm. So that's the top 5. The only other 2 people I would even consider drafting, Carson Strong from Nevada, maybe has the strongest arm of this group. If I only really consider the quarterback class those 5 guys, but Carson Strong, huge dude from Nevada, but literally cannot move at all. Like complete statue in the pocket, and he's had debilitating knee injuries his entire career. So people probably aren't going to draft him. And then Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky broke Joe Burrow's single season FBS record. He threw like 60 touchdowns. It was just like an air raid offense, and it was pretty gimmicky, and nothing that he really does translates to the NFL. So you can't say he has no chance, but he's just a guy, I think.
So give me that list again. You had Willis
1, Hal 2, Corral 3, Ritter 4, Pickett 5, then Carson Strong and Bailey Zappi.
If you are the Panthers, do you take the chance you just go offensive line early? Because Zappi is a guy that some people on our live stream have talked about. Some people in the text messages have texted in about, and they're interested to see what he could do. I'll give you another one that I'll just throw out there and get your opinion, because I feel like you were high on him last year, although we knew he wasn't coming out. Came back for his senior year, didn't perform particularly well. But Brock Purdy,
yeah,
you're a little far more down on him now. But do you take the chance and use a 4th or 5th round, 6th? I doubt Zappi and Purdy make it to the 6th round, but maybe they do. Do you go early and then maybe take a quarterback in the late rounds just to see how everything plays out?
Yeah, I would rather do that, because I just don't like any of these guys. If the only pick that I would not despise for the Panthers would be Malik Willis at 6. I don't know how much I would truly hate Sam Howell at 6 either, because he's a Charlotte kid, and that could just be like a nice story. But Malik Willis right now, very inaccurate, and did not play in an NFL-style offense really either. But right now, you can build a rookie-year Lamar Jackson-esque offense around him. You can have him run the ball. You can do option stuff with him and McCaffrey. That could be very dangerous, and he will raise the floor of your offense probably. Anything else besides that, I hate the idea of going quarterback. So, yes, I would draft the lineman. Bailey Zappi, I don't think will be there for their next pick, which is in the 4th round, because they're moronic and they traded their 2nd round pick for Sam Darnold, their 3rd round pick for CJ Henderson. Neither of them were any good. So will Bailey Zappi be there in the 4th round? I really doubt it, but I'd rather play the odds on that than draft Kenny Pickett at 6. That idea disgusts me.
803-404-6100. You can be a part of the program. Craig on our Buford Lending live stream says he likes Howell over Pickett. I believe it is RL who's weighing in on Carson Strong. Will be someone to watch in his 2nd year after surgery and recovery. So a lot of people weighing in
The
there.
problem is it's not just a knee injury that he has right now. It's something that had happened in high school. I don't know the deal with it, but everyone says that it's a debilitating knee injury. Like, his knee will never be good again.
That's certainly not.
It's like a huge red flag. Like, there are probably multiple teams that say we are not wasting a draft pick on him if it's a 7th round pick.
It'll be interesting. Again, 2 weeks from Thursday night, the NFL draft will take place. I think my question to you, Patrick, is what team – we talk about the Panthers. There's nothing the Panthers are going to do in this draft that changes their fortunes for the NFC South, let alone the Super Bowl next year, right? There's nothing that can be done. That organization just is where they are right now. But if you get into the later rounds and you look for a organization, and I'm setting you up here for the Green Bay Packer question. If you look across right now the back half of the draft and you go, okay, this team can make a pick, and maybe they develop because that guy comes in and helps that organization a little bit or pushes them over the top. The Packers are one of them. They've got enough pieces. They got the 22nd and 28th pick in the draft. I don't know if you take a tight end. I don't know if you go 2 wide receivers. You got to pick something to help Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, who is the organization? The Cardinals have the 23rd pick. Maybe you're looking to get a little bit of help there for Kyler Murray. Maybe need a little help defensively. The Bills have got the 25th pick. The
Super Bowl favorites.
The 29th and 30 picks go to the Chiefs, who now don't have Tyreek Hill, and looking around. Give me the team right now. Give me the Green Bay pick at 22 and 28 you would take, but also give me the team right now that could most enhance their roster with a late first round pick that ends up pushing you maybe over the hump in your division or even into the Super Bowl.
Okay, so of all the contenders, the AFC is just gonna be so difficult. I don't know that Buffalo is in a position to draft one player that completely changes the complexion of their team. I would say that Green Bay and Kansas City are both in situations where they have to nail one of their first round picks. They both have 2 first round picks, both have to draft a wide receiver in the first round, and they have to nail it. Like, both of them are fully reliant on that. The Chiefs have Juju now, so that's something. I mean, there was word that they wanted to get more physical and bigger and not just rely on speed. All that did was take them to the AFC Championship game every year, but, whatever. Let's get bigger and go away from what worked. And the Packers have no one. Alton Lazard's their only receiver. So I have the Packers taking Treylon Burks, and they're not going to be happy with it, but I also have 5 other receivers going ahead of him in that first round. I just think they might fly off the board. If I had said who's worthy of a first-round pick, Drake London, Southern Cal, is my favorite. Jameson Williams, Alabama, my second favorite. Both of them tore their ACLs last year, but I think they're both by far the best. The 2 Ohio State guys, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and then the guys that are kind of fringe first-rounders, Christian Watson, North Dakota State, freak athlete, probably the best combine of any wide receiver. Sky Moore dominated every single snap he ever played at Western Michigan. Treylon Burks was a bad athlete in the testing, did not test well at all, and probably potentially could have knocked himself out of the first round. And then the one guy that is very, very interesting is George Pickens. George Pickens from Georgia is a very interesting case because after his freshman year, it was a foregone conclusion that he'd be a first-round pick. Sophomore year, weird things happened just with the shortened season, and then he tears his ACL. And then only got to play a couple games, and the couple games he got to play in were the college football playoff. I think he came back for the Georgia Tech game, maybe played a couple snaps, and then was just thrust into the lineup against the best teams in the country. It's just wasn't an easy situation for him. A phenomenal blocker, which some teams might covet, and he's just a physical guy and really strong at the catch point. So I think he might end up being a first-round pick.
803-404-6100. Michael weighs in on the text line and asks you a question, or maybe just makes a point. Panthers need to trade McCaffrey. Is this where you make the move? Is this where you make the move with McCaffrey, who's been injury prone, and you're having to really blow this whole thing up? Is this the time maybe you do it for another draft pick where, again, I don't know, you look at who maybe is out there who could use him. Maybe he pushes somebody else over the edge and they're willing to give up a first-round pick for him for an instant impact kind of guy?
There's 2 teams that I could see considering the trade for him, and that would be Buffalo has not had a great running back with Josh Allen there, and maybe Tampa Bay if they want to change a pace guy with Leonard Fournette. If you can get a top 100 pick, I don't care what it is. If you get a second or a third round pick, I would trade Christian McCaffrey. Panthers fans are, I think, delusional in thinking that you could get a first round pick and more for him.
Right.
There's no shot that would happen. That would absolutely stun me, and whatever general manager traded a first round pick for him should be fired on the spot. If you can get a second or third round pick and get yourself back in the mix, it's just such a bad situation to be in, to be a bad team and have one top 100 pick like that. One day 1 pick, no day 2 picks, and then whatever you have in day 3. I mean, you're just throwing darts at that point. Not having a day 2 pick is killer. So yeah, I would trade him for anything.
803-404-6100. How you can be a part of the program this morning. As always, you can go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click and subscribe, be a part of the YouTube program that we have where you can join in. Several people weighing in, Troy, Craig, RL, all involved there in the chat discussion. Several other people involved as well, discussing both the Clemson game and the NFL draft. Again, you can go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click and subscribe. And of course, a reminder, anything you've ever missed on the program, Jen does a fantastic job of putting it up on our Spotify podcast page. You can go to Spotify, search 1075 The Game, the early game. You can click, find us, subscribe there, join along for any interviews or any segments you've missed and that you want to go back and re-listen to. We'll come back. We'll get back into some spring football. Also, South Carolina basketball. Just kind of interesting. Yesterday, Wildens Levesque announcing his transfer destination in the transfer portal. We'll touch on that as well. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game.
All right, so mother-in-law's coming into town today. Could be here for 2 weeks.
$8:27 on a Tuesday morning, April the 12th. We have been a very football-heavy program this morning, not only discussing the upcoming NFL draft 2 weeks from Thursday, but talking a lot of spring football for South Carolina's upcoming spring game. Saturday night, 7 o'clock over at Williams-Brice Stadium. Free to the public, which, yes, we saw this, and now I think it raises a small question. You can go to the spring game for free, but it's going to cost $35 for adults, 20 for youth, if you want to be a part of the Cocky Trot 5K fun run and walk. I don't know if there's something in there that you get for $35.
They don't do this at Alabama.
I don't know.
I bet they don't do this at Georgia.
It's a lot of money to run somewhere.
They
But
do this at Ohio State. Winning programs don't have 5Ks before their spring games.
I'm assuming it's for. Patrick doesn't even care about the money. They just don't do. We don't run before a football game. We tailgate.
Yeah.
We tailgate before a football game. But
Okay, you do get things. You get a race shirt. You get a personal results page. You get
Personal results page.
Yeah, it tells you how slow you were.
You get chip timing. You get a free ticket to the April 15th or 16th baseball game.
Okay.
Why do you need chip timing? You
well,
can just
Wait a
find
minute.
out
Wait
how
a minute.
fast you
Wait a
ran
minute.
It's likely, I don't know, is it a sanctioned race maybe? So that,
Wait. The race is on the 16th. I hope you don't get a free ticket to the 15th baseball
well,
game.
probably you got it You
For
might have gotten that.
registering.
Oh, for registering
Yeah.
ahead of time? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Probably would have
Well,
done that.
they're giving those things away for free now too.
And you're
Yeah.
going to get a chance to purchase discounted tickets to a couple of football games.
Okay.
So,
All right.
know,
So some stuff.
there's some perks.
Some perks. But yeah, 7:00 Saturday night. Following the end, there will be a fireworks show, and we've talked a lot about South Carolina's
That's
spring
a
game
savvy move, making sure people don't leave early though.
for the fireworks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a veteran move.
Keeping them around. So, what will you stick around to see? I got to admit, we've talked again a lot of offense this morning, Patrick, as it pertains to South Carolina, and what you're kind of hoping to see on Saturday night. What you're exactly going to see on Saturday night, and I think. Yeah, there are players, as people have pointed out this morning on the Buford Lending live stream and on the text line, that we've kind of forgotten about. E.J. Jenkins is a great example of that. E.J. Jenkins is a great example of a guy last year. People were going, 6'7", 245 pounds, matchup nightmare. He was okay last year, had a few games where he stood out. I think it took some time adjusting to the SEC level coming from St. Francis. But I think it's a fair question. How does Spencer Rattler utilize him? How does Marcus Satterfield utilize him? What do you hope to see from him on Saturday night, if anything at all?
I am fully under the impression that he is going to be a red zone guy and pretty much a red zone guy exclusively. Matchup nightmare, I guess, but he's not a freak athlete. He's not like blowing past people. He's not running past cornerbacks. He's reaching above people's heads to score touchdowns. Like I think he's going to be split wide on goal line and red zone possessions and thrown fades. And I think that's going to mostly be the extent of it. He's not a full route tree guy, and he's not going to be needed on middle of the field, 1st and 10 plays.
8 receptions last year, 117 yards, 1 touchdown for E.J. Jenkins. It makes me wonder, you put him and you put Austin Stogner out there. And again, I know Jenkins is not really a tight end-esque type player, but what can you do with the middle of the field? Because we got one guy who'll be 6'7", and again, part of Marcus Satterfield's job is to try and put guys in motion, to create mismatches, to get guys that like a Juju McDowell on a linebacker, like a wheel route out of the backfield, something. I mean, again, so what do you do with 2 guys who have some height where you should be able to look down the middle of the field and throw the ball up? I'm with you on the speed portion of what you're saying, but I wonder what you can do with an E.J. Jenkins when you also factor in guys on the outside like a Juice Wells, a Josh Vann, maybe an Amarion Brown, maybe a Landon Sampson, maybe a Corey Rucker.
You go trips with E.J. Jenkins, Jaheim Bell, and Austin Stogner, and throw a jump ball to the guy who has the shortest defender on him.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's what you do. If you're at the 10-yard line, 1st and goal from the 10, that's what you do. 3 times. It's going to work once.
803-404-6100. So the question becomes, again, what do you expect to see on Saturday night? Scott weighs in. Do we really have that much confidence in Satterfield? No. I don't know, Scott. Do we have confidence in him, or are we still learning? There were certainly things last year that left a lot to be desired, but I also think you got to be realistic about the quarterback situation and what South Carolina necessarily went through. But Patrick, to that end, is there just schematic things that you can see Saturday night that give you a better feel for Marcus Satterfield? Or is it, again, are we just going to enjoy a football game, tailgate a little bit, and whatever happens, whatever in the world happens, you just take it for what it is, which is it's a spring game on April 16th, and there's a long way to go until September?
I think the spring game is the type of event where it's just going to confirm your priors. If you're an optimist or a pessimist, you're gonna leave the game with that. If you're really excited about this team, you're either gonna leave the game saying, okay, well, we got a quarterback. He made some impressive throws. The stats weren't crazy, but it's a spring game. Who cares? We got to see what he can do. If you're a pessimist, you're going to say either our defense is terrible, Spencer Rattler lit them up, that offensive line, which was terrible last year, made them look weak, or you're going to say our defense, or you're just going to say, okay, the offense is overrated again, and we have Satterfield and this and that. Like, I don't think there's many people going to the spring game waiting to have an opinion shaped.
Okay.
Like, you're either excited right now or you're just tempering your expectations. But if you're saying I'm not going to get carried away with expectations, I don't know what in the spring game could change that for you.
803-404-6100. That's it. I think it's a very legit question. Is your excitement hype level already at peak level now before going to the spring game?
I mean, we asked earlier, who's a guy that blew up in the spring game and then ended up stinking? Have you ever been down on a team, then watched them? Can you ever remember a Gamecock team where you said, I'm really high on this team or I'm really low on this team, and left the spring game feeling the opposite?
It's a good question. I can't. It's always been something. Spring games are what they are. They're fun. They're a chance to go back and meet, in my opinion, old roommates and hang around and do a little tailgating. Matt weighs in. We can make all the assumptions we want, but the O-line has to play 1,000 times better, or all these weapons will not be utilized to their potential. And again, I don't know if you necessarily go out and the offensive line plays good on Saturday night. You go, oh yeah, feel a lot better. Feel really good about the offensive line. It's going to be a thing, and I don't know. Georgia State's not going to just be some pushover, kind of like Eastern Illinois was last year, but we won't really know, I think, until the Arkansas game when you get a firm test there from an opponent, an SEC type of opponent. And so we'll be able to see what exactly they can do. I think you raise a good question, though. Like, is your opinion, is your feelings for September, I think it's September 3rd, already formulated? And nothing can really change, because I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I don't know.
There might be a little thing, like one guy flashes, or you say so and so looks like he's put on some good weight and he's looking good this year. I think it's going to be a breakout season for this guy, but your opinion of the team as a whole is not going to be influenced.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. The other thing we've talked about just briefly this morning, yesterday, Wildens Levesque announcing that he will transfer to UMass. So that now gives Frank Martin his front court, basically reuniting Taquan Woodley and Wildens Levesque. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. I got to admit, I've very rarely in my lifetime have I seen a South Carolina coach go on to another program and you get to follow him. Chad Holbrook at College of Charleston is one of those guys. Except for that, it's not like Will Muschamp went and got another head coaching job. So, Patrick, the fact that Frank Martin has gone on to get another head coaching job, and we all know how things kind of ended up down here.
Do you count Sean Elliott?
That's a good question. I have followed Sean's career.
Yeah. Well, because he left on good terms. Yeah, so people want to see him do well.
Right.
Except for this year.
Yeah, except for the opener. And so, but with Frank Martin, I think, but seeing how everything kind of transpired over the last 6-8 weeks and really over the last year and a half, it is interesting to see this. I don't want to say experiment, but I feel like that's what it is will Frank Martin go elsewhere to UMass? And right now it looks like take at least two of the same players. There are two players and be able to have more success in the Atlantic 10 with UMass than he was having at South Carolina.
How would people feel if he won the A10 in year one with all conference center Wildens Levesque and all conference power forward Taquan Woodley? Would they be happy for him? Would they be mad at like the administration here? Would they be mad at I don't know. Do people want to see him succeed? I feel like most people wanted to make a change until they thought that they were about to get Gigi Jackson and then said, nah, let's hang on for another year. And then after the coaching search transpired the way it did, they either went all in on Lamont Paris or said, yeah, we botched it.
They're in the Atlantic 10, for those that don't know. Davidson, VCU, Dayton, which is Anthony Grant's team, St. Bonaventure, all pretty good teams.
Richmond this year.
Yeah, Richmond.
If they won that conference, it would be a huge achievement.
It's not a pushover conference. We know what Davidson has been. I had Davidson in the Sweet 16. I had them beating Duke and advancing. You're right. He's not stepping into a low-level conference. This is a very solid mid to high major, kind of borderline high major, right there at a very good mid major. Davidson's been much better. VCU's had a history. Dayton with Anthony Grant is a consistent NCAA tournament team. St. Bonaventure's playing better. So, but it is interesting, and I think it becomes a little more fascinating. I don't think you pull against Frank. I don't think you necessarily pull against him, but
you pull against him to stop taking your players.
Well, no, most people, Patrick, that we've heard are like, yeah, let those guys go.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah, let those guys go. And it's going to be very interesting to see the development of this team. Eric Stevenson, I believe, is heading to West Virginia. We've not heard where Jermaine Cousinard's destination is just yet. Keyshawn Bryant is heading to the NBA. So, just a couple guys there. Devin Carter's not made an announcement just yet as to where he's going to head. So it's all very interesting, though, I think, to see the Frank Martin process, the coaching, now adding players, the people that he said hurt his eyesight.
Yeah.
That was the injury, following him to UMass and seeing how they do. I don't know if people share this. I'm not like rooting for Frank Martin to succeed and Lamont Paris to fail, but I think it is interesting to see Frank Martin move to another job and how he'll do.
Well, if Steve-O asked the question, if you had to wager on it, who's making the tournament first? Or will both of them leave their respective universities with 0 tournament berths?
Interesting.
Let's just look at the history real quick of UMass.
I know Coach Cal.
Is Marcus Camby and that group. UMass has not made the NCAA tournament since 2014. They had a great run in the 90s, 92, 93, 94,
What years
95.
was Cal there?
Those years. 92 through 98. The tradition and history of both programs is honestly quite the same. Both programs have one Final Four.
When was their Final Four?
96. That was the one with Camby. It was vacated by the NCAA does not recognize that Final Four. But yeah, Camby and that group. 3 Sweet 16s. Again, they all came from 92, 95, 96. It's not like UMass is a tradition-laden program. Very similar to South Carolina. As a matter of fact, if you just do that, that's 3. That is 6, 8, 9 tournament appearances, 8 of which have come in the last 30 years.
They're lacrosse and hockey school.
Okay, lacrosse and hockey. I did see where they picked up a big hockey transfer the other day.
Wow.
But 8 appearances in the last 30 years. I think it's going to be very interesting. That's a great question. As Steve-O asked, who makes the tournament first? I'd kind of lean to neither of them making the tournament. That's kind of where I would see.
Frank will get a longer leash at UMass than Lamont will at South Carolina, right?
I don't know because South Carolina basketball traditionally gives long leashes to basketball coaches. Like
they do, but has UMass ever had a coach with as much name recognition as Frank Martin? Because Cal started there. He wasn't
right when he came in.
He wasn't Cal when he was there.
No, yeah, he wasn't.
It's good to have a nationally known name as your head coach, a Final Four coach.
Yeah, Bruiser. Steve Lapis was kind of a big name, I guess. Kind of a big name. He wasn't on the same level as a Frank Martin. Bruiser Flint was kind of a big name, but again, didn't have the coaching pedigree.
But any college basketball fan knows Frank Martin.
Right, should I would assume. Derek Kellogg, the other coach that followed Travis Ford there. But really couldn't get things done. So it's just interesting. We continue the other part that we talked about as it pertained to South Carolina basketball is just as we sit here and wait to see what Lamont Paris will do, both with his third assistant position and what other names. Because I am surprised, Patrick, we have not heard more names, whether it was through high school recruits or whether through potential transfers that are popping up in the portal.
Which kind of does lead me to, I read Joe's text and thought he's being alarmist. Like, we will be lucky to finish above dead last next year, he said. Right now they kind of are, right? Like trending towards being picked last in the conference.
I don't know LSU because they lost their whole roster, and I don't know who
would Murray State be picked above South Carolina if they were in the SEC.
I don't know exactly how that's going to work as it pertains to LSU because I have not looked to see if just every Murray State player has followed. We know Trey Hannibal and one other player did that. I don't know. Like South Carolina sits here with what we estimated to be 8 players right now on their roster. We included Brandon Martin in that, who's listed as a graduate transfer or a graduate student. And would be eligible to play next year. And here we sit on April 12th. Maybe he's wrapping up his degree from South Carolina, and then he'll make a decision on his future. Or maybe he's, like you said, he's ended up at an SEC school, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to get one more year here, and I enjoy the teammates that are still here. I enjoy the city. He has grown up here. I mean, Brandon Martin has technically, like, this is kind of his town. He's been around here for 11 years. He's been, if you do the math on it, he's been here since he was about 10 years old. I can see him considering it hometown and wanting to play for the hometown team.
Would Trey Hannibal be the best player on South Carolina's roster right now?
It's a good question. I don't. I think Josh Gray's got a lot of potential. How they coach him up.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could certainly
You could
make
argue that.
you could make the argument about Trey Hannibal. It's
I just
certainly
think that's interesting, just looking at the people that have left. And I mean, I don't know. Justin Mania contributed to a top 10 team all season long in ways that we never expected. And Trey Hannibal's playing at LSU now, and Jalen McCreary is transferring again. It's just a lot of turnover in this sport now. It's hard to follow.
803-404-6100. A couple of you weighing in as it pertains to football. Greg says Patrick is right. Fans are nuts at times. I mean, every spring game you'll hear a lady scream out block during the first 2 offensive possessions.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't know. I think people are more just excited to see the team run out there and play some football rather than be influenced by anything. You just want to see your guys out there competing, and mostly you want to see Spencer Rattler. But now that you've got fireworks to look forward to, all the people that were thinking, I'm going to bolt out of here at halftime as soon as Spencer Rattler's done, you got to stick around so your kids can watch the fireworks.
Sean weighs in, says spring games are the pro wrestling of college sports. Nobody runs their actual offense or defense. It's essentially a middle school play.
Do people get into other teams' spring games? I never really have.
At this point in April, yes, but there's a caveat to why it's yes. Because what the SEC network is about to do. None of the games are going to be televised televised. They're SEC, you have to stream them.
Yeah.
It's becoming odd to have to clarify streaming versus being shown live. But the answer is yes. But the reason I'll get into it later on is because during the summer months, it'll be kind of like grabbing your football preview magazine and you say, okay, let me see how Kentucky's offensive line looked. Oh, it's 4:00 on a Wednesday and there's nothing on except maybe some Major League Baseball. Yeah, I'll check out a spring game now that's re-airing on the SEC
We gotta
network.
just get guests from all the other schools.
We could do that
throughout the summer. That'll be easier.
Yeah,
just let them tell us.
Joe weighs in. Any update on the Citadel transfer that visited South Carolina last weekend? He says we need some players. Nothing of substance right now, Joe, on Hayden Brown, the 6'5" swing or power forward there that visited. Raphael, is Luke Doty playing this weekend? I think he will play, but as Craig or someone else pointed out, I doubt they'll allow Spencer Rattler or Luke Doty to be hit.
Yeah, they'll be in the non-contact jerseys.
They will not only that if you get close to them, you will be told to go to the locker room and sit in your locker.
Will they let Colton Gauthier and Brandon Davis get hit?
They did in the last scrimmage. In the actual scrimmage, that was the thing that Rattler and Doty couldn't be hit, but it was like, hey,
go hit these guys.
Preseason on.
You got to sack somebody.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the Tuesday morning episode of the early game. It's Bill Gunner. It's Patrick Pratt. It's Jen Jensen on 107.5 The Game. few more minutes. And then we're all done. Get through the rest of the day. And we're on to Wednesday. Bless you. Bless you again. Oh, boy. So Justin Byerly said Boston College transfer Brevin Galloway's decision is entered a transfer come down to South Carolina Clemson, originally from Anderson and attended T.L. Hanna. And somebody said, well, of the 7 players who played significant minutes for BC last year, he was the worst one by all advanced metrics. Somebody said there are 1,200 players in the portal. Surely we can land someone that doesn't shoot 26%. Wrapping up the Tuesday morning edition, 8:54 here on April the 12th. Again, a lot of football talk this morning. Anything you've missed, you can go back to our Spotify page. Jen has done a great job of putting up different topics throughout the day as we have covered a lot of different portions here, from Keyshawn Bryant declaring for the NBA draft. I forgot to get into that yesterday, and that occurred after our program. Patrick has also put out his top 5 quarterbacks for the NFL draft. I was looking at that, Patrick, after I brought it up to you. And you're right. It is a really weak quarterback draft. I mean, you've got Willis, you've got Pickett. This is according to CBS Sports. Willis, Pickett, Corral, Howell, and Ritter. And then after that, yeah, Carson Strong. But you mentioned the knee injury, Bailey Zappi. Skylar Thompson is on there from Kansas State. Jack Cohn, who spent some time. There's a Cole Kelly.
So basically what we're saying is the Bears are going to go shopping for a quarterback because there's terrible options out there. So
They have someone compete with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I like that strategy. When you got your pick, you're just like, all right.
It's going to be a big year for Justin Fields.
No, I really hope it is. I just being very snarky about the
facetious.
I like Justin Fields.
Yeah, I do too. I'm very happy with him. I just know how
it goes. The Bears have never had a great quarterback ever.
No. So
it's actually
let's go
incredible.
pick up somebody terrible.
For one of the most successful and historic franchises in the league, they've never had a good quarterback.
You guys just gonna sell out on Jim McMahon like that?
I was going to say he actually wasn't awful.
Yeah,
he's probably the only one that was even top half of the league.
Rex Grossman took him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Enough said. He's horrendous.
We will get into more of that tomorrow. Continue talking about the spring game coming up on Saturday night, 7:00, and we will get into some more NFL talk. Yeah, it really is. I don't get into it quite like you, but man, looking at that quarterback draft, yeah, you may as well just take anybody else in this thing.
It is a bad time to be a Panthers fan, and I'm very sorry for all of you.
We'll continue talking about that. Again, anything you've missed, you can go to our Spotify page, search The Early Game, 107.5 The Game. We appreciate you being a part of the program. We return tomorrow morning.
All right. We're almost halfway there.
Almost. Everybody have a great day. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Hey, guys.